Welcome to a Steeler Thoughts Chief Feelings film review. I'm Ajay Nair, and this review is of the Chiefs Super Bowl 59 40-22 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. It was a rough one. The Eagles thoroughly outplayed the Chiefs, so as you can imagine, there's a lot of bad on this film review from a Chiefs perspective. However, surprisingly, there's some good too, and we do our best to highlight that through this film review. Thanks to all of you who've been following along with the film reviews this year, and just so you know, we're not done. We will have film reviews through the off season, doing a bit of a retrospective on the Chiefs season, going through some of the best moments from different players and position groups throughout the year to keep us going through the off season until the 2025 football season starts. Well, let's get into this film review. So we start with 10:07 to go in the first quarter. This is a 0-0 game, and the Chiefs have a 2nd and 9 at their own 24-yard line. Let's take a look at this play, and then we'll break it down. We've got Mahomes in the shotgun, and he motions Pacheco over to the left to be out wide. Mahomes then from empty takes the snap and drops back, throws to Kelsey over the middle, and they aren't able to connect for an incomplete pass on 2nd and 9. So this play is important because it kind of showed, this was early on before the game had really started to get out of hand and before we really knew how dominant the Eagles pass rush was going to be in this game. The Chiefs had started out with an RPO to get a first down, and after a 1-yard gain, they ended up with a 2nd and 9. And the main reason I wanted to show this play is it shows that the Chiefs, they've gotten a lot of criticism post Super Bowl for not adjusting much to the Eagles quarters coverage. And that's fair. But it's not like they didn't know what was coming and didn't have some ideas about what to do. And this play is an example of that. So the quarters coverage, essentially, you've got two high safeties, and it starts on the outside with the corners being essentially responsible for the number one, meaning the outside wide receiver. So when you're playing quarters, which the quarters shouldn't be confused with cover 4. I know even on my film reviews, I've used the terms interchangeably, which is actually incorrect. Cover 4 is when you have, your 4 defenders each getting a quarter of the field. Quarters is another term for Nick Saban's creation, the cover 7 defense, which is a man-match defense. We're not going to go over all the rules because it can get really complicated, but for the purposes of this, the most important thing to note is that the corner on the outside is responsible for the outermost wide receiver. And depending on what kind of quarters they call, that could be just like straight up man-to-man, or it could be like, we're going to stick with you man-to-man unless he comes in which case they do drop off and become like a cover 4 corner. And if the underneath drag route gets passed off to another defender, that specific coverage is called mod, which is man outside or deep, meaning you're going to man this guy up whether he goes outside or deep. Okay, why am I talking about all this stuff? Well, the Chiefs knew that they were playing quarters, and they're trying to get Kelsey in a favorable matchup. So what they do here is Quinyon Mitchell is manned up against Kelsey because he's the only wide receiver out there. And based on the principles of the defense, you have to cover the outermost wide receiver. Well, what happens when you motion Pacheco out there? Now Quinyon Mitchell has to take Pacheco in this defense, and you have a linebacker lined up against Kelsey, which is exactly what the Chiefs want here. They're going to send Kelsey down on a kind of in-cut route, almost like a slant, to try to get a first down here. But the Eagles counter nicely. What they end up doing is, since this is a huge mismatch, like you really favor Kelsey to get this first down here, they drop Josh Sweat, the defensive end, and only rush 3. Dropping Josh Sweat means that initial window isn't open for Mahomes immediately when you want to throw this ball. So look here. Here comes Kelsey running his in-cut. If Josh Sweat's not right there, you could throw this ball now. This ball right here, you get it out in front of Kelsey, he's going to get the first down. But this window got tighter now because Josh Sweat is also there. So now Mahomes has to wait for Kelce to clear this window. And you see the defenders converging. It becomes a much smaller window. Now, Mahomes really should still put this ball out in front. And that's what Kelce is expecting. The ball comes a little bit behind him, and Kelce isn't able to complete it. And that's an early missed opportunity for the Chiefs to get a first down and keep their drive moving. Now, again, this play is to note a couple things. One is that the Chiefs clearly, this motion is set up to take advantage of the rules of quarters coverage. So it's not like the Chiefs were shocked by what the Eagles were doing. And in situations where they had a play like this one, even though Josh Sweat dropped and it threw off the timing a little bit, it wasn't so easy. There's still a window there, and Mahomes has a throw. Kelce gets open. Mahomes puts it a little bit behind, but honestly, Kelce's got to catch this ball. And the Chiefs, the way they played offense in this game, or this season really, they kind of had to be on their game. They had to cross their T's and dot their I's. They couldn't afford mistakes, and this was just a mistake. So we can see it here from the end zone view. Mahomes drops back. He's waiting for Kelce to clear Josh Sweat. But again, they actually handled the three-man rush okay, which is not what you could say later in the game. And he gets this pass out. And yeah, it's a little behind Kelce, but Kelce's got to catch this. I feel like there was a lot of criticism for Mahomes' ball placement on throws like this, and that's fair. It's not a perfect throw, but this has got to be caught. I mean, this is possibly the best tight end to ever play the game. Like, you got to catch this ball. Missed opportunity for the Chiefs. I also do want to note, here Kelce drops it, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson takes 2 steps and hits him in the back. I just want to contrast that with when Nick Bolton hit Saquon Barkley, getting a 15-yard penalty on what would have been 3rd and 26 to get a first down. I mean, I feel like this is as egregious as the Bolton play. And I bring it up because officiating is inconsistent in the NFL. It's crazy to me that people try to act like officials favor any one team. If you look for them, you will see plays that should be called to benefit the Chiefs or any team that are not there. You just have to watch the film to see them. The refs just, I don't even know if you call it a miss. They're just inconsistent. It's subjective. Is this, if by the rule they set with the Bolton play that would actually come later in this game, I mean, if that is a penalty, this is a penalty. In my opinion, usually I feel like both of them kind of aren't penalties, but Bolton's was called, Gardner-Johnson's was not. Not that it affected the outcome. It's just a point to note that officiating's inconsistent. There's no conspiracy with the officials. They just call some things sometimes and some things don't because they're humans and they make judgment calls and they don't call them the same way every time. The Eagles' defensive line came to play in the Super Bowl, and they absolutely terrorized Patrick Mahomes in the Chiefs passing game throughout the night, making it very difficult for anything to be possible in the passing game. The Eagles combined this with really tight coverage, knowing that since their pass rush was going to get home quickly, they weren't going to have to worry about the deep ball at all because there wouldn't be any time for the receivers to get open downfield. So behind the pass rush, they had guys coming up, ready for short routes, ready for anything quick in order to make quick tackles and prevent quick throws, forcing Mahomes to hold the ball in the face of the rush and have almost nothing that he could do on many occasions. So we're going to go through some examples of how the pass rush really terrorized the Chiefs during the Super Bowl. We're going to start here with 10:03 to go. We've got the Chiefs in a 3rd down and about 9. This is a 0-0 ball game, their first possession of the game. So let's take a look at what happens, and then we'll break it down. We've got Mahomes as an empty in the gun. He then motions Samaje Perine in and makes a check, calling the protection. Takes a snap. and is forced to bail to his left, then wheels back around to his right, and while getting hit, throws it over to his right, incomplete, forcing the Chiefs' first punt of the game. So let's take a look at what goes on in this play. So the Chiefs are out in 11 personnel. They've got one running back, Samaje Perine, and the tight end is Travis Kelce. Their wide receivers are Juju Smith-Schuster, Hollywood Brown, and Xavier Worthy. The Eagles actually are going to be playing cover one man, which is a pretty big departure. They were doing kind of two high shells zone coverage for most of the night, but this early they ran cover one man. This is our deep safety here. This is our underneath guy, and everybody else is just manned up. So if you see, we got man to man, man to man, man to man, man to man. So what the Chiefs do here is the kind of main thing they're looking for on this play is they're trying to hit Hollywood Brown on a wheel route, and they're trying to use Kelce to set a pick for him. So Brown is going to come in and run behind and go at the numbers, and Kelce is going to try to take his defender into Brown's defender to pick him off to give Brown a free release and a big play here. However, the defender does a great job. If you see here, Brown comes in behind Kelce. Kelce's trying to get his defender into Brown's defender, but this defender does a great job of avoiding his teammate, DeJean, and getting out to Brown. And he has to run through some traffic because we got Worthy coming through here too. He manages to do all that, get out to Brown, and really stick to him on this wheel route and prevent a throw over here. And if, in addition to that then, so that was kind of concept one. Then beyond that, they've got Worthy coming on a dig route. They've got Juju on a return route. And they've got Perine going out into the flat. So Kelce then, too, after he brings his defender in, then tries to come across the middle here. But what happens here, if you look at Mahomes, he hits the back of his drop, and after looking for Hollywood and that not being there, he's already got both tackles kind of coming back into his lap. So the Eagles had a pretty good rush plan throughout the night. Essentially what they did was they went in and bull rushed both tackles and managed to walk them back consistently through this night. Now, Joe Thuney and Jawan Taylor as tackles are really concerned about the speed to the edge. So they often set pretty deep, trying to make sure that they don't get beat around the edge, especially someone like Joe Thuney, who's a guard and doesn't really have a ton of lateral quickness. But what ends up happening then is if you're overcompensating to the edge, and especially if you're setting really deep, you're giving the defensive end a lot of momentum. He's got like a runway to come and run right through you. And the Eagles used that over and over again. There was that threat of speed around the edge, but instead they just bowled right through him and walked back into Mahomes' lap. Now, as you see, they're kind of maintaining on the outside shoulder of the lineman. And that makes it hard for Mahomes to escape outside because they can just shed and come get him. So that right here, you can see the helmet here is on the outside shoulder. So they do a good job of staying to the outside shoulder. And then watch what the defensive tackles do. The defensive tackles are just kind of holding ground. They're not really trying to get upfield. They're remaining available for when Mahomes tries to step up. Whatever gap he steps up into, the lineman's trying to two-gap right here, both sides. And whatever gap he steps up into, the lineman's going to try to come after him. And so this is what happens here. Mahomes tries to escape to his left. The defensive tackle sheds, and then now it's Mahomes has nowhere to go. He's got to come around and look for something. As he scrambles, Jalen Carter does just a phenomenal job. The guy's so athletic of getting out to Mahomes and making this a very difficult throw. But if you see here, Mahomes essentially, when he hits the back of his drop, where's he going to go with the ball? He's got nothing. So, I felt like one critique as we got toward the end of this game was Well, Mahomes, yeah, the pass rush has been crazy, but Mahomes has got to get the ball out of his hands. So we're going to do this exercise for these plays. Like, okay, when Mahomes gets to the back of his drop and as he's, the pocket is collapsing here, where is he supposed to go with the ball? Covered, 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 covered. He's got nowhere to go. So he tries to make something happen with his legs, and the Eagles were just ready with their rush plan. And if only, Jalen Carter had been able to be subdued a little bit. Mahomes does a phenomenal job escaping, but Trey Smith right here tries to wall off Jalen Carter, but Carter is too quick and too athletic. Gets around, and look at how fast he gets over to Mahomes. And Mahomes just throws up a heave to Brown. I actually don't think this was as bad of a throw as people made it. I saw multiple people being like, well, that was just a terrible decision. I mean, look at Brown right now, gets his foot in the dirt, and he has his defender sliding, and Mahomes is trying to throw back toward the sideline. Now, he is getting hit, so I'm sure this ball didn't go exactly where he wanted it to. But Brown comes out to it, and honestly, I think part of the problem here, why it looks so bad, is look at Brown kind of stop right here when tracking it and not come back to that ball. He stops and waits on it, which allows his defender to come undercut it and make it look like a more dangerous throw than it was. I don't actually think this... I mean, we'll get to some bad throws and bad decisions from Mahomes in this film review, don't you worry. But this one, to me, wasn't that bad. I think if Brown comes back to the ball, the decision to throw the ball, look where he is when he's deciding to throw it, right here. I mean, this isn't a bad picture to throw this ball into. I bet he hopes he wishes he put it in a little more out toward the sideline. But besides that, I think it's your responsibility when you're in this position as a receiver to try to box out your defender a little bit too. Now, one could argue Hollywood Brown doesn't really have the body type for that, and that's fair. But I don't know. I mean, I can hear arguments both ways, but I don't think this is one of those where it's like, oh my God, that was such a terrible decision by Mahomes. We'll see some of those later. Don't worry. Here it is from the end zone view, and you can see the pass rush. Look at how they're just able to walk back the tackles. I mean, they're just pushing them right back into Mahomes' lap. And look at, they're really trying to beat up the guards here, but the guards are doing a good job maintaining position here and just being prepared to go either way, be ready when he tries to escape, and they're quick and athletic enough that they can chase. And this is the tough one. If Smith had just been able to get a little bit of Jalen Carter here, it's possible Mahomes escapes here, and there was a ton of green grass if you look at it from this view. If Jalen Carter doesn't get him, I mean, look at, here are the two defenders on this side. It's possible Mahomes could have scrambled for the first down. So, great job by an athletic defensive line causing problems on this play and forcing an incompletion and a Chiefs punt. We now move ahead to 4:49 to go in the first quarter. At this point, the Chiefs are down 7-0, and they're facing a 3rd and 4 at their own 39-yard line. Let's take a look at the play, and then we'll break it down. Got Mahomes in shotgun. He's got 2 to his left, 2 to his right. And he's got Worthy in the backfield with him. Worthy goes in motion. Mahomes takes the snap, hits the back of his drop, and is forced to try to escape through the B gap. Tries to throw to Hollywood Brown, but it's a little high and incomplete. The Chiefs will have to punt again. So let's take a look at what's going on this play here. The Chiefs are in 11 personnel, as they were for much of the night. They've got one running back, that's Samaje Perine, one tight end, that's Travis Kelce, gets you 11 personnel. Then the wide receivers are Juju Smith-Schuster up top, Xavier Worthy in the backfield, and Hollywood Brown in the slot. So what they're going to try to do, they're going to have Kelce come in and run a whip route to the outside. Juju is going to come up behind him and run a kind of a deeper slant. Worthy comes out the backfield and he's going to run a wheel route. Hollywood Brown comes up and tries to sit in the middle of the zone here, and Perine comes in and runs a dig. And as this starts to materialize here, Mahomes hits the back of his drop. And then, as we're talking about, what are the edge rushers doing? They come in and they're bull rushing the outside shoulder of these tackles. They're really pushing in and collapsing the pocket. And by the time Mahomes gets to the back of his drop here, he's basically made one read as he's going back. He's looking at Kelsey, and he's watching Kelsey for separation on this whip route. So he hits the back of his drop. Kelsey comes out. He doesn't like it. It's unfortunate that Kelsey was his first read here, because look who comes open in the middle, Hollywood Brown right there. So if instead of reading this to the left, if he had been reading the right, coming this underneath route first, he would have had Hollywood Brown right there for a first down. But he was reading to the left, and before he has a chance to even scan, look at Joe Thuney is being walked right back into him, and so he's being forced to escape. It's unfortunate, too, because this is a matchup that the Chiefs would have liked. This is a matchup that they went to in the Super Bowl last year. This linebacker, his name's escaping me, but he was a backup linebacker on the 49ers last year, who Travis Kelce was able to beat multiple times in the second half. So they got the matchup they wanted. Kelsey's just not able to win on this whip route. He wasn't able to create any separation. And right here, Mahomes he's got to get off his spot. He doesn't have any chance to wait for anything else. Like we said, that would have been nice to hit there. But then, as the tackles collapse everything in, the pocket kind of is crumbling, and Mahomes has to step out through the B gap, and he trips over Jawan Taylor right there. And his throw out to Hollywood is just a little bit high. Hollywood actually gets a hand on it, but he's a smaller wide receiver. That's a little high for him, and he wasn't able to pull it in. Again, the pressure just completely destroyed the play before they could get anything started. The thing that's even more frustrating is, had this play been allowed to continue even further, this was actually a pretty good play for the coverage. If you look here, what the Chiefs managed to do is they managed to isolate Xavier Worthy on Zach Bond. So if Mahomes even has a little bit of time, he's got Worthy racing down the sideline for a touchdown. If, he's able to throw the ball now even. But he just doesn't have a chance with the pass rush. Like, if you look at this route combination here, first of all, he did have Hollywood open right here for the first down, but he's not able to get to it because his first read, after he sees the first read, he's forced to bring his head down and scramble. So, number one, he would have had this. Worthy is isolated on a linebacker down the sideline. That's easy money. Would have been a touchdown. And then Juju also would have, had the opportunity to work away. There were definitely options that could have worked out. I mean, chief among them, the shot play here would have been. I mean, this worked out perfectly from a coverage standpoint. They got Zach Bond on Xavier Worthy. This is a score. I mean, Andy Reid and Matt Nagy won on this play, except that they couldn't block him. And as Mahomes tried to escape here, he trips over Jawan Taylor, and that makes it, otherwise he could have scrambled for the first down. And then as he's falling, he's just not able to make an accurate throw. The one critique you could have of Mahomes on this play is, so you can see his eyes going to the left. He's reading the left. He's reading Kelsey's route first, which is unfortunate. And it's also just unfortunate that Kelsey wasn't able to get separation on this one against Burks. Burks looked like he's kind of waiting for the whip route. And then look, Brown comes across and he's there, but look where Mahomes' eyes are. He's not looking. He's waiting to see if Kelsey's going to win. And then when Kelsey doesn't win, he's already got Joe Thuney's hip like right into him, and he's got to get out. He's too much traffic to make a throw. Then he trips right here over Jawan Taylor, and he's just not quite able to make an accurate throw. Another play completely thwarted by the pressure. We now jump ahead to 8:38 to go in the second quarter. Chiefs are down 10-0, and they have a 1st and 10 at their own 30-yard line. We'll take a look at this play, and then we'll break it down. We've got Mahomes in the shotgun. He's got Pacheco to his right, brings Juju in motion, steps back, and immediately has pressure in his face from Josh Sweat, who takes him down for the sack. So let's break down what happened on this one. So the Chiefs come out here, and they're in 11 personnel. They've got one running back, Isaiah Pacheco, one tight end, Travis Kelce. And it looks like the Eagles actually play man coverage, which was kind of a rarity for them here. But they seem to be having one deep safety here in cover one, and then an underneath robber, and everybody else is manned up. So Slay's got Hollywood. Zach Bond actually has Kelce. Cooper DeJean is manned up with Xavier Worthy. Quinyon Mitchell here on, sorry, I called him Hollywood. That's Juju. This is Hollywood. And then it looks like Burks has Pacheco. And so what the Chiefs try to do, they actually did a very similar concept to this against the Bills. It's not an uncommon thing that they've done through the year. They are sending Worthy in jet sweep motion, and then they're faking a handoff to Pacheco at this way and essentially leaving the edge unblocked. They are kind of chipping with Kelce to help as he goes out to the flat. But ultimately, the idea is that this motion plus the jet motion would put the edge in enough conflict that would allow Mahomes to be able to avoid him. Unfortunately, Josh Sweat is having absolutely none of that. So he, if you notice, here's the run action. Kelce tries to chip, and Sweat, by the time he gets around the chip, like it's almost like the chip made things worse here because it pushed Sweat outside and right into the path of Mahomes. In theory, if Kelce's chip isn't here, there's a chance that Sweat comes around and chases the run, which is what they want with this run action, right? But Kelce chipping makes it such that by the time he comes free, he can see that Mahomes has the ball. So it's almost like this combination was a bad combination to have the chip and the run action. And it just results in Sweat coming screaming at Mahomes immediately and Mahomes having nowhere to do anything. I think the ideal would be that what they're hoping for is that they fake the handoff, that occupies Sweat, and then if you notice, Humphrey peels off late, and he's ultimately going to help block Sweat. And they did this against the Bills, but they used Mike Caliendo to do the same thing on Greg Rousseau. However, in this case, again, by the time Humphrey gets out, like Kelce has chipped Sweat, and I really feel like that didn't help this play. Having Chelsea chip made it extremely unlikely that Sweat would be fooled by the play action. So he just comes off free, and Mahomes, after he's faking the handoff, he's just right in his face. I mean, this play didn't work whatsoever. I'm not sure if maybe there was a miscommunication or if Kelce was supposed to hang on to Sweat for a little longer. I think the one difference with Rousseau in the Bills game was that Noah Gray was in this position, and I think he actually blocked him momentarily before going out. He didn't just hit him with a chip. He actually blocked him for long enough for Caliendo to come out and then take over. And here Kelce just kind of chipped the inside shoulder, which just, this play had no chance of working from the start. It's worth noting that it's not like anybody really won on this play anyway. They've got Worthy going out to the flat. He's covered. Juju and Brown are running crossers. I will say that Juju kind of beat Slay off the line here, but Blankenship, the underneath defender, ends up kind of trailing. They cover this well because this would have been a potential pass, not in this situation because Mahomes sacked, but if there's no underneath defender here, Juju's open, but they did a good job covering it here. So even if Mahomes had time, there was really nowhere to go on this play. But yeah, they tried what they did against the Bills, and they did not execute it the same way whatsoever. The big difference being that Kelce kind of just hit the inside shoulder here instead of blocking him long enough for this play to work. I feel like if you're going to chip the inside shoulder, it's better to just not engage him whatsoever and hope that he gets drawn in by the run action. In any case, it was a sack on first down and set the Chiefs behind. And you can see it here. The ideal is that Sweat gets held up for a little bit, long enough, because you see Humphrey is setting to help out over here first. Then number 2, he's coming out. And look where he's looking for him. He's looking for him, anticipating to be over here. Look, Sweat's already down here. Like, Mahomes has no chance on this play. And he tries to evade him, and he honestly does a decent job, but Sweat just grabs his jersey. See here, it kind of looks like Mahomes, if Sweat hadn't got a hold of the jersey there, Mahomes might have been able to escape, but Sweat did a good job of grabbing him and taking him down. So we jump ahead to the very next play. The Josh Sweat just sacked Mahomes, and now they have a 2nd and 14 from their 26-yard line, down 10-0 with 7:58 to go in the second quarter. Let's take a look at this one, and then we can break it down. Got Mahomes in the shotgun. He drops back, looks to his right, doesn't like what he sees. The pocket collapses, and he gets sacked. So let's break down what happened in this one. Chiefs again on 11 personnel. Isaiah Pacheco, the running back. Travis Kelce, the tight end. 1 running back, 1 tight end gets you 11 personnel. 3 wide receivers are Xavier Worthy, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Hollywood Brown. So what the Chiefs end up doing here, Worthy comes and runs a stop route because of how off the coverage is. And Juju comes in and runs a slant from the slot. And if you look at this, when Mahomes takes the snap, I wonder what he's looking for initially. I think what's happened is that he's wondering if Hollywood's going to make the sight adjustment to run a stop route here, because look at him look over to the left, and then when he doesn't see it, get over to the right. And I wonder if the reason he doesn't throw it to Worthy's side is because, well, yeah, it's almost like he's reading Hollywood's side first. Not so much that Hollywood didn't run the stop route. I think I was wrong there. I think what it is that Quinyon Mitchell is sitting on it. Look at him not get any depth whatsoever, and contrast that with what's going on this side. As Worthy drops back, or comes up, I should say, Slay's turning his hips and dropping back. So had Mahomes read this one first, that's the throw. But I think what happens is he reads over to the left side first, and look at him look over there quickly, realize that the corner is sitting on that. So that is a no-go. And then quickly try to shift over to the right. But at that point, Worthy has already stopped, and I think he doesn't like it because he look at him rear like he's going to throw right there. But at that point, Slay's already changed directions, and he's going to start driving on it. So I think that's why Mahomes turned that one down. Had he looked over to the right first, I think he throws the stop right now, and they get a completion. But since he looked quickly to the left, then he went over to the right, at that point, he doesn't feel good. Slay's already stopped. You don't want to risk him driving on this and scoring and getting a pick six, essentially. So then he's going to try to look over to the middle. And here, Juju is coming in on the slant. But the problem is at this point, the pocket is collapsing. He's, again, both offensive tackles are getting beat. Well, in this case, it's not even offensive tackle. This is a 7-man protection. So let's get into the basics of protection here. What the Chiefs try to do here is they double this defensive tackle with the center and left guard, and they double this defensive tackle with the right guard and right tackle. And then they ask Kelce and Pacheco together to block the defensive end here, and then Tooney is one-on-one on the other defensive end. Well, a couple things go wrong. First of all, Kelce starts blocking here, and Pacheco is supposed to come and help him. However, there is too much of a gap between the two of them, and as Kelce gets beat to the outside, Pacheco gets beat to the inside. Like, Pacheco needs to come up and get hip to hip with Kelsey to prevent this guy from getting around. Instead, as Kelsey starts losing to the outside, Pacheco is not there to prevent him from squeezing right between, and right there he's pressuring Mahomes. But even worse is on this side, Tooney, again, just like previous ones, just getting walked back. Bull rush straight back. And Caliendo tries to come off of his double team to help Tooney, but it's way too late. At this point, Tooney's already walked right back, and Mahomes has nowhere to go. If he's given just a little bit more time, Juju's about to run free right here over the middle, but he doesn't have the time. As he's coming open, Mahomes is already getting enveloped by the pass rush, and he's got to protect the ball to prevent a fumble. So Mahomes goes down on consecutive plays. And you can see what we were talking about initially. Look how he's looking to the left, and then he immediately really realizes, oh, no, the corner's sitting on that. I'm not going to have that. But by the time he gets over to the right, it's too late. The timing's off. He's going to also risk putting the ball in harm's way, so he can't make that throw. So then he's trying to, and Juju's about to come open. If Mahomes just has another second, he's going to be able to throw this over to Juju, but instead goes down. Jump ahead now to 5:46 to go in the second quarter. The Chiefs are now down 17-0, and they have a 3rd and 9 at their own 31-yard line. So let's take a look at the play, and then we can break it down. We got Mahomes in empty in the shotgun, and motions P. Ryan into the backfield with him. Juju motions out wide. Mahomes takes the snap, hits the back of his drop, and is pressured again. Tries to escape left and eludes Sweat, but then runs into Caliendo and gets sacked from behind, bringing up another 4th down and another punt for the Chiefs. So let's take a look at what happened here in this play. The Chiefs once more in 11 personnel. That's 1 running back, Samaje Perine, 1 tight end, Travis Kelce. And they bring Perine in to isolate Kelce here on the outside. Now on the right side, the Chiefs are just going to run a flood concept. So they've got 3 levels here. They've got the shallow route, Worthy's going to run the intermediate route, and then Brown is going to run the deep route, trying to get the zone defenders in conflict and try to create open areas. Kelce, isolated on the left side, is going to chip initially on Josh Sweat before releasing to come out to his route. The Eagles appear to be running a cover 4 zone, and the 3 Chiefs coming on this side actually separate pretty well in their flood concept. And if you notice, Hollywood Brown actually gets C.J. Gardner-Johnson completely turned around and falls over. So if Mahomes has time, I mean, this is a shot play to Brown right here. Unfortunately, though, we see the same pattern in that Mahomes hits the back of his drop, and look here, here comes all the pressure. This time there was a stunt that the Eagles ran, so they brought the tackle in around and had the end come in, and Tooney got taken for a ride a little bit outside. Again, Taylor gets walked back, and Mahomes is feeling pressure as he hits the back of his drop. And look at what's happening here. He's got nothing. The routes haven't even completed yet, so Mahomes is forced to bail out. The one critique I have here is that this is one of the times where the Eagles actually didn't maintain contain. They'd been doing a good job of having their defensive tackles sit in almost 2 gap for when Mahomes came up. This time, we've got a wide rush here, so if Mahomes had been able to get up toward one of the A gaps, he might have been able to escape up the middle here. I mean, it's 3rd and 9, so he would have had a long ways to go, especially with zone defenders looking in the backfield for him. But he came out through the left B gap, and Josh Sweat tracks him down. He actually got away from that, but then Mike Caliendo's right in his path as he's trying to escape, so he runs right into him and then gets sacked. But this is another situation where, we're talking about 3 seconds between 3 and 4 seconds, certainly under 4 seconds, that Hollywood Brown breaks out over here. If Mahomes is just given time to sit and survey for 3 seconds, we might have a shot play here, but he just has no chance with the pass rush. Here you can see it from this perspective. You're going to see the stunt here. He's going to come around. Sweat's going to take the chip and then come in. And again, like, look at Taylor just getting walked back entirely. He just walks straight back by a slight fellow. Nolan Smith isn't that heavy of a rusher. But like we talked about earlier, Taylor takes these deep sets, and it's just like, look at how much room Smith has to build up momentum to just bull him right over. He just goes right through his chest. And Tooney also really struggling. And by this point, Mahomes, I mean, he's got 3 right around him. He's got nowhere to go. He doesn't have time to sit and wait for Hollywood Brown to get open there on the right side. And is not able to escape and takes a sack. Now we pick things up with 1:49 to go in the second quarter. The Chiefs are down 17-0, and they have a 1st and 10 at their own 6-yard line. Let's take a look at this play, and then we'll break it down. We got Mahomes in the shotgun, 3 to his right, 1 to his left. That's Kelce isolated. He brings Worthy in motion over to his left, drops back, throws the pass over the middle where it's intercepted by Zach Bond, his 2nd turnover of the game, giving the Eagles the ball deep in Chiefs territory. So let's take a look at what happened on this play. So we get Worthy going in motion. We've got the Chiefs again in 11 personnel. 1 running back, Samaje Perine, and 1 tight end, Travis Kelce, gets you 11 personnel. We've got 3 wide receivers. It looks like that's Juju up top, Hollywood Brown here, and Xavier Worthy right here. And so what the Chiefs are going to do is they're just going to run double outs on this side, and they're going to run double slants over here. And Mahomes actually reads this out. He reads the left side first. It looks like he might be looking for Kelce before coming back over to the right side. The Eagles just drop into what looks like cover 4. They've got 4 deep and the 3 underneath. And so if you look at it, Mahomes, you can see him starting here. He's looking over to this side initially. And that might have caused him to drift just a tad over to his left, a little bit more than just standing. You see he's not like quite in the center of the pocket. He's a little over to the left, I think, because he was looking in this direction. But then he turns back toward the middle, and he sees that Hollywood Brown is about to clear the underneath defender. This defender is coming with Kelce on the out route, so he's about to have a void here in the middle to throw the ball. As he gets ready to throw, Josh Sweat, who's bull rushing Joe Tooney in the same way that we've been describing throughout here, he comes in. Again, Tooney takes a deep pass set. So with the deep set, Josh Sweat has some momentum. He can kind of build up some speed. And he attacks his outside shoulder, but not to get around him, to just bull rush him. And he pushes him right back into Mahomes, actually hitting him. So Tooney backs into him and hits him right as he's throwing this ball. And the ball placement is just not where he intended. Like, it looks like he's trying to throw this ball a little bit farther into the gap, but the ball ends up being back inside because he got hit while he threw. Just inside enough that Zach Bond can make an athletic play and go down and get it. This is one of those where I would really put the interception entirely on the pass rush and pass protection. So if you see here, there's Mahomes looking to his left, and that's the one critique you can have. He did move a little bit over to the left instead of keeping his spot. But either way, you see him reading to the left, then he sees back over to the right, and look at Tooney gets into him right there. And so it looks like he's trying to put this ball, he tends to throw a little bit across his body, but as he gets hit to his right, the ball is going to drift to his right as he's moved right, and it's just a little too far inside. As you can see, it's behind Brown. So it clearly appears to be to the right of where Mahomes intended to throw it, which makes sense as he's being hit from his left over to the right. And with the windows being as small as they are with the Eagles defense, Bond is able to get to it and intercept it. Again, the Eagles pass rush ruins another play and gets a big turnover this time for the Eagles. So here we are now with 14-18 to go in the third quarter. Chiefs are down 24-0. This is their first drive of the second half. They've got a 1st and 10 at their own 44-yard line after picking up only their second first down of the day. So let's take a look at what happened on this play, and we can break it down. We've got Mahomes in the shotgun again, 3 to his right, 1 to his left. Drops back, looks like he's going to throw, then gets forced forward by the pressure, ultimately sacked by Jordan Davis for a short loss. Now let's take a look at what happened on this play. Chiefs are out in 11 personnel again. This is Isaiah Pacheco, the 1 running back, Travis Kelce, the 1 tight end, 1 running back, 1 tight end. That's 11 personnel. We've got Hollywood Brown out wide, Juju Smith-Schuster in the slot, and Xavier Worthy out wide to the left. So what the Chiefs are going to do here is they're going to run Kelce on like a deeper slant with Juju coming, and he comes and sits initially and then comes out. Hollywood Brown is going to run a post. Xavier Worthy is just going to stop right here due to the off coverage, and Isaiah Pacheco is going to come and run an out route from through the B gap. So Mahomes initially, now if you look at the Eagles, they are showing a kind of cover 4 shell. They ran cover 4 a lot during this game. So Mahomes hits the back of his drop, and he's looking for Juju right here on this kind of sit route. So if you notice now, he kind of rears up to throw, and look at what happens right here. Jalen Carter jumps in the passing lane, and Mahomes sees it and decides to turn down the throw. He's worried about the pass getting tipped, so even though he likes Juju right there, doesn't throw it. And then when he comes back over to look at Kelce, he feels the pocket collapsing. So look at how much the pocket has already collapsed from the initial line of scrimmage, which is the 44-yard line. Mahomes just looks at 1, turns down the throw, tries to go to read 2, and look, the defensive tackles are both at the 40-yard line. Joe Thuney has been pushed back to the 38-yard line and is almost in Mahomes' lap. So the Eagles have moved from here, is where the defensive line started, all the way back here, in the time it took for Mahomes to look at Juju, and he wanted to throw this pass but not be able to because it would have been knocked down. He's trying to get to his second read, and the pocket is already completely collapsed. And again, sound like a broken record, but what are they doing on the tackle side? They're bull rushing that outside shoulder. It was effective over and over again. This time for Taylor, they're trying to just beat him around the arc, but here they're just getting slow push from the defensive tackles, making sure not to over pursue, making sure to stay sound gap-wise to be ready for the scramble up the middle. This was the intent all night. They were pushing the tackles back. Ideally, they were doing a better job of not providing this kind of hole by like bull rushing more inside, but here Josh Sweat did end up leaving a little bit of a B gap. But in general, they kind of collapsed that, and then when Mahomes tried to come up, the defensive tackles were there to get him, and that's exactly what happened here. There was just no time whatsoever. And I also want to draw attention to you all. Look at the attention that Kelce gets here. He's essentially triple covered over the middle. And you can see how the Eagles, again, are defending in this cover 4. You normally think of a cover 4 as a defense where, since they're dropping 4 and they only have 3 underneath defenders, the underneath areas and the intermediate areas become open. But the problem is the Eagles knew that Mahomes isn't going to have time. So look at their safeties. Their safeties are not out here bailing deep. They're coming charging up on Kelce. In fact, you have Hollywood Brown running a post, and there is nothing in the middle of the field here. Like, this is, if Mahomes has like 3.5, 4 seconds to throw, this is a touchdown. There's nothing there. But the Eagles know that. They know he's not going to get 3.5 to 4 seconds, so they don't care. Take a fast receiver, put him one-on-one with Darius Slay, give him the whole middle of the field. We don't care because we know our pass rush is going to get there, and there's no way you can get that throw off. And that's what happened here. Like, look, look where Hollywood Brown is when Mahomes is being forced off his spot. Look at where he is. He's not even made the cut to his post route yet. And so this is why I get frustrated when people are just like, well, I know the pass rush was bad, but Mahomes got to get rid of the ball. Like, I know the pass rush was crazy. Mahomes has just got to throw the ball. Where? Where is he going to throw it? He had one option on this play before the pass rush got to him. It was Juju, and Jalen Carter did a great job of getting in that passing lane. And by the time Mahomes has to reset, he's done. He can't throw the ball now. He's trying to keep the ball protected so he doesn't lose it when he gets hit. And having turned the ball over twice already, Mahomes is really in the protect the ball mode. So, I mean, there's nothing. The only other thing one could have thought is if he happened to read this play from the left side, he would have had the quick throw to Worthy right here. And he could have tried to get a quick one to Worthy and then hope he breaks a tackle and gets some yardage. But that's it. So there's just not a lot for him to do on a play like this. The pass rush is getting there so fast, and the Eagles are completely committing to stopping the underneath routes because they know that their pass rush is going to get there before the deep routes can develop. The pass protection is not going to hold up, and the Eagles are playing that way. So here you see Mahomes. This is where he wanted to throw. And look at Jalen Carter ready to knock that pass down. I think it was a good decision from Mahomes here not to throw this pass and risk a potential tip and turnover. And then here, like, look where the pocket is. Like, he is completely surrounded, and so he tries to escape, but Jordan Davis does a good job of staying in there and making sure that Mahomes can't get through, and the Eagles get another sack. So now we got the very next play. It's 2nd and 11 at the Chiefs' 43-yard line, down 24-0, 13:38 to go in the third quarter. So let's take a look at this one and we'll break it down. We got Mahomes in the shotgun with Pacheco next to him. He's got two tight ends to the left, two wide receivers to the right. He takes the snap, hits the back of his drop, the pocket collapses, and he's sacked again. So let's take a look at what happened on this one. So this time the Chiefs come out in 12 personnel. They've got one running back, Isaiah Pacheco, and their two tight ends, Noah Gray and Travis Kelce. One running back, two tight ends gets you 12 personnel. And what they end up running here is they end up sending Kelce on an out route. Noah Gray is coming up the seam. And Xavier Worthy is coming across to run a deep crosser here. And then Hollywood Brown comes in for an in-cut. A longer developing route combination. Pacheco is going to come and chip Josh Sweat and then get out into the flat. So again, look, Mahomes hits the back of his drop, and this time something really unfortunate happens. So here on the right side, Juwan Taylor seems to be engaging Sweat okay here. Jordan Davis is getting outside of of Trey Smith. He's kind of got toward his outside shoulder, and Humphrey's trying to push him wide. But as Taylor is with Sweat, Pacheco comes in to give him a chip and then get out. And unfortunately for everyone on the Chiefs here, the chip hits him so hard and dislodges him. And it allows him to kind of come back inside and get right to Mahomes. So watch Josh Sweat on this play. Here comes Pacheco for the chip. Boom. It dislodges him and brings him right into the path of Mahomes and gives him a sack. Part of the reason that Mahomes gets moved off his spot is, again, Joe Thuney is just getting worked back into the pocket. He's getting hit, bull rushed, again, a little toward. It's the same idea, right? He's setting back. They've got a runway. They come right into his chest toward the outside shoulder, push him right back into Mahomes. Mahomes has nowhere to go. And because Josh Sweat got chipped right into his path, Sweat comes in and has a clean, easy sack. As far as his options, again, here's Mahomes hitting the back of his drop. This is what he's looking at. The one thing is maybe he could have gone to Kelsey here on the out. But if you look at when he has to move off his spot, when Joe Thuney is getting pushed right into his lap, look at his options here. These routes are still developing. This was a very long developing play that was called here, and Mahomes has got nothing. Again, when you want him to get rid of the ball, the question is who's he supposed to throw to here? I mean, the one thing you could have said is maybe he could have tried the out route right before the break. That immediate, but it looks like he was kind of reading this. It looks like he started by looking at Gray. We'll be able to see it from the end zone cam a little better. And again, this is unfortunate because if Mahomes just has 3 to 4 seconds, look at how this develops. Worthy is going to be wide open down the field. And so you saw this later in the game, right? When the Eagles pass rush got a little tired, Mahomes hit a couple bombs to Worthy. This play was there. It's just that Mahomes didn't have the time during this game to get these throws off. By the time he's being flushed, he's got nothing. Again, if he had read Kelsey first, if he had started this left to right, that would have been the first thing. Maybe he could have immediately popped this, but after that, he's just getting absolutely clobbered so quickly. So here we are from the end zone view. As you can see, he's looking in the direction of Gray here. That seems to be his primary thing he's trying to read. And then again, you can see he's feeling the pressure. He's just hitting the back of his drop here, and look at where Thuney is. Thuney is pushed so far back that he's having to stick a hand out right here. Look at him stick his left hand out to try to push off of him. And at this point, like we said, Josh Sweat has been chipped. It looks like Taylor actually had engaged him pretty well in this rep, but he got chipped, pushed right into it, almost like that we created a stunt for them. And Sweat gets pushed right into Mahomes and gets the sack. And now we have the very next play. Again, 24-0 Eagles in the third quarter. Now it's 12:52 to go in the quarter. Let's take a look at this play, and then we'll break it down. We got Mahomes. He starts an empty out of the shotgun. They bring in Ajay Pirine. So he's now got 1 to his left, 3 to the right. He takes a snap, hits the back of his drop. He has a little bit more time here, and he bails out the pocket to the right and then goes into scramble mode. He cuts back left, manages to elude a couple guys, but then comes up well short of the first down on 3rd and 17. So this is where we are, 3rd and 17. Let's see what the Chiefs had drawn up here. So let's get Pirine motion back in, and the Chiefs ended up running a flood concept. Essentially, they've got, again, a cover 4 zone, and so the Chiefs like to hit the zone on multiple levels, try to flood the zone and see if they can get any openings. So they got Worthy going deep, they've got Kelsey as the intermediate guy, and they've got Pirine as the lower guy. So the idea is, when teams are in zone, you try to send a lot of routes to multiple levels in the zone to get these defenders to have to decide who to cover and leave some openings. But the Eagles do a good job of, so when you typically run a cover 4, right, you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4. They each get a quarter of the field. And then your underneath guys split the field into thirds. They're kind of spread out. And so that's what allows you, if you flood this side of the field, you essentially have the one underneath guy, you've got this guy who's supposed to come deep, and then you might get, some conflict here between these two defenders if you're running 3. Theoretically, this guy is covering the flat on this side, this guy's got the middle of the field. But the Eagles do a really good job in their zone of matching. So when they see that you're flooding routes over here on this side, they're not going to leave somebody covering a zone out here. They've got their cover 4, and they'll just match to your routes. So they move all of their underneath defenders, and they flood that zone too, which gives Mahomes no options to throw to. Look at this. They've got all of their linebackers came here. 2 of them are here with Kelsey. You've got Worthy covered here over the top, and then you've got Pirine accounted for. Suddenly, this flood is not nearly as effective because they've moved their defenders over. As you see, there's nobody guarding this part of the field whatsoever. The other route combination from the Chiefs is they've got deep crossers from Hollywood Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster. And as Mahomes hits the back of his drop, that one thing that is possible is Juju coming over here. But Mahomes does have to be careful because he's got a safety sitting over this that can drive down. And so I think that is what caused Mahomes not to throw this ball, because if the safety jumps this, that's a pick in the other direction and maybe a pick six. So with the safety sitting on top of this route, I think he didn't feel comfortable throwing it. And by the time he's hit the back of his drop, looked, and then looked over the middle, he basically got a chance to go from 1 to 2, and then the pressure gets to him. So the pressure here is from a stunt. The Eagles have the defensive tackle come in, and then come out, I should say, and then the end loops in around the tackle. And initially, it's not the immediate pressure we were seeing before. Joe Thuney actually gets spun completely around and somehow still manages to kind of stay in front of the defensive tackle. But again, they're giving up ground. So by the time Mahomes looks to the middle of the field, here he's got the ends right on him, and he feels the pressure and has to bail. The Eagles do a great job in pursuit with Josh Sweat here. So, if Mahomes was able to set his feet and, if Sweat had been knocked down or something, maybe he has a chance to launch a deep one. He's got Worthy coming down, Brown coming down, but now you're looking at having to throw the ball like 60, 65 yards in the air. It's asking a lot. He would really have to have his feet set and be able to get into the throw, not running around for his life like he is here. So really, once he decided that he wasn't going to risk this throw, there's not really much else for him. It would have been him coming across, but you'd have to throw it in a way to make sure that the safety doesn't have a chance at it, which is a bit risky. So he actually does pretty well to get the yardage that he did. Pretty elusive there, but of course nowhere close to the first down. So from the protection standpoint here, you see the stunt. They're going to let the tackle come and then the end loop around. And here the pocket just collapses. And it looks like this inside guy might have been spying Mahomes too if he tried to escape out of the B gap. So there's really nothing for him to do except come around. And Josh Sweat does a great job with his pursuit. And Mahomes just has to get what he can. And the Chiefs are forced to punt. Now we've got 9:51 to go in the game. The Chiefs are down 37-6. And they have a 1st and 10 at their own 30-yard line. Mahomes has kind of gotten into the mode of desperation mode where he's just willing to heave them long now. He threw that bomb to Worthy on the last drive, and then another touchdown pass to Worthy on when he scrambled out and threw a strike into the end zone. So I think he's kind of seems to be beyond trying to just read things out simply and just wants to go for it all. So let's take a look at the play here, and then we'll break it down. He's in the shotgun. He's got 2 to his left, 2 to his right. Hits the back of his drop. Wants to go long. It gets stripped and hit from the front at the same time. He loses the fumble, and the Eagles recover. Eagles ball. So let's see what happened on this play. Chiefs are in 12 personnel with the one running back being Kareem Hunt. 2 tight ends are Noah Gray and Travis Kelce. 1 running back, 2 tight ends gets you 12 personnel. They've got Hollywood Brown in the slot and Xavier Worthy here on the boundary. So what they're going to do is they're going to run Gray out into the flat, and if you see Kelce just comes in on an in cut. So Noah Gray goes out wide, Kelce comes on the in cut, and then they've just got these 2 deep, parallel post routes. So Mahomes, the Eagles seem to be again with their 4 match principles. So the outside corner here takes Kelce in, and the other 3 follow the 2 routes below. And I think Mahomes at this point is just like, well, let's give it a shot. At this moment, he looks like he's trying to throw this one to Worthy. I've just given Worthy a shot, having hit him twice on deep balls on the last drive. He's going to give him a shot, but unfortunately for him, Mike Caliendo just gets destroyed by this defensive tackle. Just walked right back, and so as Mahomes tries to step up to throw this, the D tackle does a great job of just raking his arm as he's going through. And Jalen Carter also beats Trey Smith and kind of pushes him right into Mahomes. And honestly, Carter, you can see it better on the TV broadcast, but he definitely hits Mahomes in the head. I mean, that's a roughing the passer penalty. Not that it matters at all to the outcome of the game, but just to let people know that, remember, Mahomes doesn't get all the calls. Just because it happened at an inconsequential moment in the game doesn't mean it doesn't count. So when people are trying to put up statistics about the penalties Mahomes gets, just remember, there are penalties that Mahomes doesn't get either. It's just the refs make mistakes quite frequently, mainly because it's a very hard game to officiate. Anyway, ball stripped, and the Eagles recover. This time the failure was in the interior line, whereas most of the night, as we've seen, it's been the tackles that have been pushed back into Mahomes. But this time, Caliendo was beaten to the outside, and Trey Smith just got worked by Jalen Carter. And they both combined for the strip sack and final turnover from the Chiefs. So you can see the pass rush here. I mean, Caliendo just doesn't stand a chance on this one. Look at him get bull rushed so far back that Creed's trying to come and help and can't get there in time because the defensive tackle has gotten so much depth. Mahomes tries to step up around it and launch deep, but his arm gets raked. And here Jalen Carter just gets a hand right into his face and pushes him down. No flag was thrown. But as you can see, the Eagles just terrorized the Chiefs' offensive line. And there are certainly moments from this game that Mahomes wishes he had back, mainly times when he wasn't pressured as much, or he was spooked by the potential for pressure and missed some short throws, or the interception that he threw in particular was a bad throw. But apart from like maybe 4 plays or so where you can kind of be like, well, Mahomes should have done this a little better. As you can see through this film review, this was just a story of the Eagles' pass rush dominating. They got pressure so fast, and the Chiefs were not able to adjust, mainly because the Eagles were sitting on top of all quick routes because they knew their pass rush was going to get home. So the Chiefs really were left with few options except to try to beat them deep and hope for creative ways to protect, but ultimately they weren't able to find a good solution. I find it hard to really say, I mean, Mahomes didn't play well, but it's not like this was a terrible performance. He was really left in a situation where he couldn't do anything. In the moments where he had some things that he could do early on in the game, he did make some mistakes, and he should be rightfully criticized for those. But ultimately, this entire game was a story of the Eagles' defensive line just absolutely demolishing the Chiefs' offensive line to an extent that the Chiefs' offense just could not function at all, earning the Eagles a well-deserved win in this one. It's hard to look for positives when your team gets as thoroughly dominated as the Chiefs did in Super Bowl 59, but honestly, the defense played a pretty good game. The defense definitely played well enough to win the game if the offense had given a good performance, and that was mainly on the strength of the run defense. When the Chiefs defense had trouble, it was usually the pass defense that was allowing the big plays. The run defense was solid all night. So let's take a look at some plays to show what the Chiefs were able to do defending the run game of the Eagles, which had been pretty formidable throughout the season and through the playoffs. Let's start here near the end of the first quarter. At this point, the Eagles are up 7-0. There are 8 seconds to go in the first quarter, and they have a 1st and 10 at the Chiefs' 30-yard line. Let's take a look at this play, and then we can break it down. So we've got Jalen Hurts in the gun. He's got Saquon Barkley to his left. There's one tight end out on the left. That's Dallas Goedert. Hurts fakes the handoff and runs left, where he is met by Shamari Connor, who ends up running him down, and he ends up losing 4 yards. So let's break this down. This is actually a creative way to run a counterplay. So the way that a counterplay is run in the NFL, or in football in general, is you'll have 2 players pulling. In this case, it's the right guard and right tackle, Lane Johnson, the right tackle, and Mekhi Becton, the right guard. They come out and pull, and the rest of the line is going to block down. So you get 3 guys blocking down, 2 guys pulling, and then the runner following the pull. And usually on the counterplay, the runner will take a false step in the direction of the 3 down blockers before coming back and following the puller. This is a creative way of doing it because the false step is actually a fake handoff to Saquon Barkley. So they try to get the defense going to the right with this right here. You see the fake handoff. That kind of takes the place of the false step over here. And then you've got guard pull, tackle pull, and Hurts is going to run right behind them on the counterplay. Well, the Chiefs have this set up pretty well. The backside's not pursuing because of the counter. So that's what the kind of fake step, or in this case the fake handoff, does, is it prevents the backside from flowing down and helping out with the run play. George Karlaftis is respecting the potential of Saquon Barkley. Chris Jones beats his reach block real quick and comes down. He's actually able to pursue backside to behind Jalen Hurts, but he's not going to catch Hurts from behind. What really makes this play, though, is the stout defense of Mike Dana. So Mike Dana is over here as the Chiefs' right defensive end. He comes inside Dallas Goedert, who's going to try to help lead the play along with the pullers. And watch Dana here come in, and he's going to actually take on both pullers by himself. So he's got the guard and the tackle right there, eating up 2 pulling blocks, which frees up Nick Bolton to be completely unblocked coming through, as one of those pullers really was intended for him. And at the same time, Shamari Connor manages to slip this attempted block by Dallas Goedert, so he comes free as well. So the Chiefs did a great job of, essentially they had the end. Mike Dana went in to attack the pullers. He got both. And then you get these 2 coming outside for contain, giving Jalen Hurts nowhere to go. But the real, the hero of this play, the guy who made this play happen, is Mike Dana, eating up those 2 blocks, allowing Bolton and Connor to scrape around the outside and pursue. And then Jalen Watson does a good job getting off of his block here to help in the pursuit. And there's just nothing for Jalen Hurts here, who has to slide down for a loss of 4. You can see it even better here from the end zone copy. So again, counter, you've got 2 pullers, and then we're blocking down on this side. And then there's a false step in this direction to try to get the defense, prevent the pursuit from the backside, and then follow the pullers. So their false step is they're going to have a fake handoff to Barkley going this way. So here's the fake handoff, and you can see what it does to Karlaftis. It gets him to stop, to respect the potential for a run in this direction. At the same time, you've got these pullers coming, and then you've got Goedert trying to get to the second level and block Connor. So ideally, from the Eagles' standpoint, if you could get Becton to come block Dana and Johnson to come block Bolton, or vice versa, one for each of them. But instead, look at Dana here. He's takes on the block from Becton, and then he manages to come inside so that Johnson blocks him as well, and he actually gets his face mask pulled right here. This should have been an illegal use of hands to the face penalty on Mekhi Becton, but it wasn't called. And Dana eating up both of these blocks is what allows here Bolton is able to come free around the outside. At the same time, Connor here does a great job of slipping this block. Suddenly, Hurts has 2 Chiefs right in his face, Reed's coming down to fill, and Watson does a good job getting off of Devontae Smith's block, and Hurts has nowhere to go. The ideal situation is, if this is blocked up, is to try to get Hurts out here. He's trying to, there should be a hole out here, and the Chiefs instead managed to stretch this play out toward the sideline, and Hurts can't outrun Connor, gets taken down for a loss of 4. Here we jump ahead to 12:37 to go in the second quarter. The Eagles are still up 7-0, and they have a 1st and 10 at their own 43-yard line. So let's take a look at this play, and then we can break it down. We've got Jalen Hurts now in the pistol. He's got motion from right to left, and then he takes a snap, hands it to Barkley, who's met right at the line by Drew Tranquill, maybe a loss of 1 or so on that play. So let's break down what happened in this one. This is actually another counter run. It's drawn up slightly differently, but same idea. We've got the guard pulling here that's responsible for the kick-out block, and then the tight end is supposed to come around and lead Barkley through the hole. So again, you're going to have blocking down here, and then you have, I drew one on the guard, I meant the tackle. So we're blocking this way, and then we allow the guard to pull, and the guard kicks out. He's supposed to kick out Leo Chanel, who's the edge guy here, and the tight end is supposed to go through the created gap and lead the running back through. This time, the kind of hero on the play is Leo Chanel. And let's look at Leo right here as the edge guy. He's the one that's going to meet the pulling guard over here. As the guard comes around, look at Leo just slam him and just completely stop him in his tracks. And what that does is what they're trying to do here is down block Mike Dana, who's putting up a good fight, and try to create a crease. If this guy gets kicked out, if Chanel gets kicked out, then there should be a crease between Dana and Chanel, and the tight end wants to come through and block the first defender in, probably Bolton, and give Barkley a lane to go through. But that lane that they expected, Leo Chanel just slams it shut by stonewalling the guard right here. And watch as the tight end is trying to get through the gap. He actually trips over the guard because he didn't get nearly the movement they anticipated, so there's no hole there to get through. And he trips trying to get through that gap. He can't get through the lane because Leo Chanel has completely slammed it shut. And on the other end, the guy who makes the play is Drew Tranquill with great pursuit from the backside. Remember that counter motion is supposed to kind of hold Tranquill in his tracks and prevent him from pursuing the play, but he isn't fooled and follows, and not only the counter action, but also the kind of fake of the zone read here by Jalen Hurts. But Tranquill does a good job holding his ground initially and then pursuing. And since Barkley doesn't really have anywhere to go because Chanel has done a good job slamming this shut, Tranquill has the time to pursue and make a good strong tackle for a loss. You can see it even better from this view. Remember, so this is the counter action is the guard coming and trying to kick out the end man, and then the tight end is coming around and trying to get in. So they're going to try to down block Mike Dana to create a gap between these two players. So first the tight end and then Jordan Mailata together. They're trying to get Dana inside, and they're going to try to get Chanel outside. The idea is to create a gap between the two of them, which the tight end would lead Barkley through. Sorry, I drew that a little off, but they would lead through this gap that they create through them. But watch how the play actually unfolds. So the key here being Leo Chanel. Watch Chanel come down to the pulling guard and bam, he hits him right there. And the tight end is trying to squeeze through this gap that's essentially non-existent because of Chanel holding his ground. The tight end trips, and Barkley can't accelerate through the hole, which gives Tranquill time from the backside to come in and make a strong tackle for a loss. The interior was very stout here for the Chiefs too. Look at nobody's getting moved. Doing such a great job anchoring, holding their ground. Even though Dana gets pushed a little inside by the double team, still holding his ground, making it tough. And because the tight end had to work so hard getting Dana inside before he could come to the second level, he's not able to block Bolton. Not that it mattered in this case anyway, but Bolton would have been there as this tight end trips through the hole because Chanel had made it muddy in there. So the Chiefs, again, with a great job in their run defense, keeping everything tight, squeezing holes, and then pursuing really well from the backside for another big stop. We jump ahead now to 2:25 to go in the second quarter. At this point, the Eagles are up 17-0, and they have a 1st and 10 on their own 44-yard line. Let's take a look at this play, and then we'll break it down. Got the Eagles, again, Jalen Hurts in the pistol. He's got motion from left to right and hands off to Gainwell running to his left. He breaks a couple tackles and then is ultimately taken down by Nick Bolton for no gain. So let's take a look at this one and break it down. This time, we've seen two more like gap scheme plays. This is a zone running play. This is outside zone. So the idea behind this run play is to challenge the edge and then force the defense to flow outside and either beat them to the edge and get around it, or if the defense pursues to the edge, try to find a gap and cut this back up the field. So it requires the defense to, on one hand, make sure that they're not getting outflanked to the edge, but at the same time to maintain their gap integrity so they don't leave any holes between them, because if they work too hard at trying to prevent the sideline run, they might present an opportunity for the running back to cut it up. So you really, step one starts at like setting the edge, making sure that it's hard for the running back to just get out, and particularly you don't want him to get out while being able to move forward. If the running back has to hit the edge, you want him moving as laterally as possible, extend the run, and so it gives the team time to pursue down the field. But if you let them hit the edge going forward, that's good night for a run like this. So look at Charles Omenihu, the line of scrimmage here. It's the ball's at the 44. Omenihu does a good job of getting upfield and maintaining his position. Look at him a full yard behind the line of scrimmage. Look at Turk Wharton, again, the same thing. So you combine penetration with keeping the outside leverage, so they're staying outside of their defenders, but they're not moving so far laterally that they create a gap like between them or up here for Gainwell to cut back. Gainwell is still having to push toward the edge, which is exactly what you want. In the meantime, Bolton here slips the attempted block from the center, so he comes free and he's able to pursue behind them. Wharton actually does a good job here of getting upfield and getting a hit on Gainwell, further slowing him and pushing him laterally. Omenihu does the same thing. He gets a hit on Gainwell. Unfortunately, neither one's able to pull him down, but the benefit was they got him moving laterally and even backwards. Look, at this point, Gainwell is back at the 38-yard line when they started here up at the 44. So they managed to string him out, get him backwards, and then finally Nick Bolton finishes the pursuit and gets to him right at the original line of scrimmage. There was nothing schematically special about this run from defense from Kansas City. If you look at it, they had 6 defenders ultimately going up against 5 offensive linemen and a tight end. So it was really like 6-on-6 here. The Chiefs just won their blocks. They got off their blocks and they pursued really well. This is just really sound run defense. It's nothing schematically crazy. It's just great technique and great effort by the Chiefs to string this play out for no gain. So we see it from this view. Again, the idea is they are zone blocking. So they're kind of blocking an area. They're trying to get out wide and ideally have the running back threaten the edge. And if they get around the edge, hopefully get around the edge moving forward. Otherwise, take the pursuing defenders and try to cut up the field in between them. So as we watch here, look at O'Menahue and Wharton are both maintaining leverage to the outside, but they're not pursuing here. They're trying to push upfield and slowly squeeze this run out. See how they kind of maintain their gap, stay disciplined. At the same time, importantly, Bolton's able to get off of this block. He's too quick for the center, pushes him away. Wharton does a good job. He gets upfield, and he's able to get a hit on Gainwell right here. O'Menahue the same. He gets upfield and also gets a hit on Gainwell. Gainwell does a good job of breaking through those tackles, but Bolton was still able to pursue, and he wasn't able to get out of Bolton's tackle. Gainwell wanted a horse collar on this play, but if you look at it, this is a legal tackle. Bolton's got him around the shoulder pad. He didn't actually horse collar on that play at all. And Bolton does a great job of bringing him down. We jump ahead to 11:23 to go in the third quarter. At this point, the Eagles are up 27-0. They're really trying to run out clock, trying to get long drives using the running game. They have a 2nd and 6 right here. They're at about their own 23 or 24 yard line. Let's take a look at this play, and then we'll break it down. We've got Hurts in the shotgun with Barkley to his left. Got motion right to left. Hurts hands off to Barkley, who gets hit by Karlaftis and taken down right in the backfield for essentially no gain. So again, similar conceptually to some stuff we've talked about before, this is a counter action. So what they've got here is they've got the guard, Landon Dickerson, pulling, and they're attempting to kick out George Karlaftis here. So they want to move him out. And then the right tackle and right guard are trying to block Pennell in, shove him in, while the left guard, Dickerson, comes to kick Karlaftis out, and then the tight end is going to pull through that hole and lead Saquon Barkley. The kind of main man here is George Karlaftis. If you watch, so here they go. Look at how well Lane Johnson's able to get a nice shot on Mike Pennell and pop him out of the way. So you think they're ready to make a huge hole here. They've got the big run stuffer. They get him off of his feet. But watch how Karlaftis meets this pulling guard. Because if the guard's able to kick Karlaftis out, you think they're cooking with gas here, having shoved Pennell out of the way. But again, Karlaftis just stones the guard like Chanel did in an earlier rep. Nowhere to go. Again, the tight end is really trying to hit a gap in here. Tranquil does a good job here coming down in pursuit as well. But the tight end, kind of hesitates here, doesn't really have anywhere to go, tries to sneak back in here, but again, they're anticipating Karlaftis to be moved. They're anticipating him to be moved out, so there's some space to run through here. And the tight end ends up almost essentially running right into the back of his own lineman. He kind of squeezes by, but Barkley is left with nowhere to go. I think he initially is thinking what it feels like is he's thinking, well, the tight end's kind of coming in here. There's nothing. Maybe he's going to try to bounce this outside. But look, Tranquil does a great job of scraping to the outside, which I think makes Barkley hesitate right here. And then he ends up right in Karlaftis' arms. But look at the overall pursuit from the Chiefs. They've got Tranquil's got this outside. Bolton's here got this inside. Since Chris Jones did an awesome job really eating up the double team and not letting anyone come through, Mike Dana's able to come free, and he's got it inside. Look how many hats they have coming to the ball. But it all started with Karlaftis just absolutely stoning the guard again. So the Eagles just weren't able to create these holes with the gap scheme run game that they were anticipating. We can see it here from the end zone view. So remember, you've got pull to kick him out. Then they're trying to push him in. And then he's supposed to come in the hole that's created by moving him out. So here we go. Here comes... Look at what they did to Pennell. They did such a great job here. Well, Becton's blocking him. Lane Johnson gets a shove and gets him down. So now that they've moved him out of the way, then Johnson's going to come up and try to block Tranquil. If the guard can just get some movement over here, with a block here, there should be a big gap for Barkley to run through behind his tight end. But they aren't able to get any movement. And Tranquil slips Lane Johnson's block and manages to get contained on the outside. Meanwhile, Bolton's coming to get contained on the inside. So ultimately, there aren't any places for Barkley to cut here. And again, it looks like since the tight end kind of runs right into here because he's anticipating these two to be moved out farther, Barkley's not going to just run in the back of his tight end. So he looks like he's trying to push this outside until he sees Tranquil. Once he sees Tranquil, he kind of cuts it back in, and he's got nowhere to go. He's got Bolton here on the inside. And again, Dana is coming free. And let's take a look at why Dana came free too. That is our man, Chris Jones. Look at him eat this double team. He's just coming, pushing through. So Dana is free with no one to block him. So he is able to scoot on over and add. So we've got 1, 2, 3 defenders with nobody. We've got a second level defender, Justin Reed, all with eyes on the ball. All 3 of these guys in positions to dictate where Barkley can go. And so Barkley ends up kind of eating it for no gain. Just great team defense from the Chiefs. Again, they really, at this point they're down 27-0 and the effort is still high. The run defense is still effective. They're trying to do anything they can to give the offense a chance to get back in this game. We jump ahead to 6:47 to go in the third quarter. Eagles are still up 24-0 and they have a 1st and goal at the Chiefs' 4-yard line. We'll take a look at this one, and then we'll break it down. We've got Hurts in the shotgun with Barkley to his left. Hands off to Barkley, who's hit by Shamari Connor in the backfield and loses about 3 yards. So let's take a look at this one. This one is a kind of standard zone read play. So Jalen Hurts is going to take this snap, and he's got 2 options: to hand off to Saquon Barkley or to keep this and run. They actually, if you notice, have Ajay Brown running a slant here. So it kind of looks like it's what Tom Brady in the playoffs was calling a triple option, that you could hand off, run, or throw. However, with Barkley being to Hurts' left and him turning this way to read on this side, it doesn't seem like, normally if this was actually a pass option, you'd have it over here. You'd have him run the slant on this side so Hurts can read the underneath defender to see if he should pull the ball and throw. The fact that it's on the back side here where Hurts is not looking at all, I think this is just window dressing. I don't think this play ever intended for this pass to be thrown because Hurts can't, he's not able to read the coverage. He's turned to his left, reading. What he's doing is he's reading this end defender to see if he crashes down. If this Jalen Watson were to crash down, then he would hang on to this ball and run. However, Jalen Watson holds his ground, so he hands this off to Saquon Barkley. But like I said, since this is on to Jalen Hurts' back, he's turning the other way. I don't think there's ever any intention of holding that ball and throwing. So he sees Watson still hanging out here, and so he hands this ball off, and Shamari Connor does an awesome job getting inside of his block. At the same time, if you'll notice, Drew Tranquil comes in and slams into the center right here. We can bring that back and forth. See, here's Tranquil right here. Slams into the center, and right next to him is Tershawn Wharton. And look at the 2 of these guys just absolutely stonewall their blockers and push back the line of scrimmage right here. So they push back the line of scrimmage, which gives Barkley no room to cut. He has to stop his feet here. He's not able to. There actually is a hole here in the B gap. So had he not have his 2 offensive linemen just right back in his face, it's possible he'd have been able to take this to the outside. But he's having to stop and cut laterally, which gives Connor enough time, having beaten his block, to get in there and make the tackle for the loss. Assuming they were able to keep the line of scrimmage a little higher, it's possible he would have been able to make this cut and outrun Connor to the spot. But having to stop here, gets hit, gets taken down. Another big stop from the Chiefs. And here we've got Connor with his great pursuit, and then you got Wharton and Tranquil just absolutely shifting the line of scrimmage here with their play. Look at Wharton and Tranquil right here. Pushing up. Look at where Barkley has nowhere to go, and then Connor does such a great job getting inside that block and pushing in to make the tackle. Another good run stop by the Chiefs defense. The effort just kept at it. They just kept at it. Here down 24-0. They just kept pushing and continued to stonewall the Eagles' run game. So now we move up one play. We've got 2nd and goal at the Chiefs' 7-yard line. 6:04 to go in the third quarter. Eagles are still up 24-0. Let's take a look at this play and then we'll break it down. Got Jalen Hurts in the shotgun again. He's got Barkley to his left. Got Devontae Smith motioning over from right to left, and Hurts hands it off. And Barkley again is hit for maybe a gain of 1 yard. All right, so this one switches it up a little bit. We've been seeing those counter runs where you have the guard coming in and trying to kick out the end guy, and then the tight end coming in and trying to lead the back through the hole. This time the guard comes over to pull, and he hits the end guy, but here Karlaftis is crashing. So this ends up looking a little more like power. The guard comes in here, and then the tight end will come and try to get a kick-out block. And Barkley is going to follow. But as you see here, so here Dickerson comes around to get Karlaftis. Again, he's just not able to get a lot of movement on George Karlaftis here. And then the tight end comes in and tries to get a kick out on Tranquil, again, to create a hole here. They actually, again, try to use Johnson and Becton to push in here. So it looks like the original plan might have been to have, the hole be right here, to have the guard come in and kick out Karlaftis. I think they were actually running the same scheme they had been running earlier, but since Karlaftis comes in and squeezes this play, then Dickerson just blocks him here, and instead of having a hole right there between Karlaftis and Nadi for the tight end to run through and lead Barkley, they have to come out here, and the tight end just tries to find work here and ends up blocking Tranquil. But again, the pursuit plus the overhang is so good. So Justin Reed comes on the outside, and then look at Derek Nadi here. He's getting the double team. He's getting the shove from Johnson, who's then going to try to come up to the next level. But the shove actually seems to help Nadi disengage a little bit from Mekhi Becton, and he comes off and he's able to pursue. So you've got Reed here, Nadi here. Bolton ends up slipping Lane Johnson's block attempt, so he sheds that, so he's also there. And so even though the tight end's able to meet Tranquil here, again, the movement is almost nothing. The pulling guard isn't able to move Karlaftis. Tranquil is able to, he goes low, and he ends up managing to prevent the tight end from making this block and moving him out of the way. He at least holds his ground here. And then Reed and Nadi are able to squeeze this and prevent a big gain. Again, schematically, not anything like overly exciting. I think this time strategically they had Karlaftis squeeze, and then they had the linebackers kind of come and replace over the top. But in every way that they tried to do it, they were able to handle this counterplay time and time again, preventing any major gains. And again, stuffing the Eagles' run game, this time in the red zone. So again, from this angle, we're going to have the pulling guard, and I really feel like the goal was to pull here, kick out, and to block down. But since Karlaftis squeezed, he ended up pulling here and try to push him in, and then the tight end came to try to find work toward the outside. And look at the linebackers. Look at them all flow here. They're ready. You know, Reed is coming to flow toward the outside. Tranquil is coming, and Bolton is coming. And here Bolton manages to shed the block here. Tranquil takes on this block. Reed comes from the outside, and really props to Derek Nottie here, as he was the guy that was going to get Lane Johnson. The way that he knocked Pennell over earlier, he was trying to shove him down, but he gets off of that and still manages to squeeze this run from the other side. And look at the traffic the Chiefs managed to create with these 4 defenders. Again, Barkley has nowhere to go. Jump ahead to 12:56 to go in the game. The Eagles are up 34-6, and they have a 1st and 10 at the Chiefs' 43-yard line. Let's take a look at this play, and then we can break it down. Got Jalen Hurts in the pistol again. Takes a snap and hands off right to Saquon Barkley. Puts a spin move on Justin Reed, and then is taken down by Charles Omenihu for a loss of a yard. So here we have just a an outside zone concept. So we've got the line zone blocking to the right, and again the idea is to threaten the edge. So you've got Barkley trying to threaten the edge and ideally break it outside going vertically, but if not, they can get the defense to spread out and hopefully create a gap where Barkley can cut it upfield. So that's the design of this run. Of course, the biggest thing on this kind of run is to try to set the edge. You'll notice at the snap, Justin Reed spins down to fill at another defender to the box. And if you look over here, Mike Dana does a great job setting the edge here on Lane Johnson. Basically gets to the outside here and forces Barkley to keep this run inside. Barkley's not able to push it outside because of the pursuit. And Justin Reed comes and fills right here through the gap. His late spin down makes him not accounted for in the blocking. He comes right down and gets right into the backfield. So this kind of late rotation by Justin Reed is filling the gap, combined with Dana setting the edge and making it difficult, both by getting upfield and getting to the outside, preventing Barkley from going outside, causes him to cut it up right into Justin Reed. Now, Barkley makes a nice move on Reed and continues going forward, but here's the benefit of keeping those zone runs inside. When you force them back inside and prevent them from getting out and up, that allows your backside pursuit to get involved in the play. And here Charles Omenihu managed to shed his block, and so even though Barkley does a great job spinning out of Reed, Omenihu's right there to clean it up. It's just a good, disciplined run defense against this zone run scheme. So again, it all starts here with Dana, who manages to get upfield and set a hard edge. And then you see Justin Reed spinning down and entering the box to add another defender. And Reed is decisive. Look at, as Dana gets to the outside and gets upfield, Reed decisively cuts through, gets penetration. And, it's Saquon Barkley, so he makes a nice move. But look at simultaneously Charles Omenihu's shedding his block, and he's there to clean it up. Again, just disciplined run defense from the Chiefs. Even at this point where the game's out of hand, they're still not letting any major runs get through. A really, really good performance by the run defense. We jump ahead to 8:58 to go in the game. The Eagles are up 37-6, and they have a 2nd and 3 on the Chiefs' 26-yard line. Let's take a look at this play, and then we can break it down. We've got Hurts under center here. They motion Goddard over to the right, and he tosses right to Barkley, who gets hit by Tranquil and taken down by Leo Chenal for a loss of yardage. On this play, we've got a toss to the right, and you have tight end in motion, and then the line is just everybody's coming right. There's a toss play to the right, and you really want to focus here on Drew Tranquil and on Leo Chenal. Let's start with Tranquil. Again, when you've got these runs to the edge, what you're really trying to do is you're trying to get penetration up on the edge and hold your line so that you prevent the run from being able to get upfield around the edge. What you want is either to force the running back inside or to make him really bow this out and take as much time as possible to get to the edge to allow your pursuit to get there. So watch Drew Tranquil here charged with setting the edge. First, look at the penetration he's able to get. He gets up the field. He actually takes on this tight end first. Then he comes back through Dallas Goedert's block as well. And look at the depth he's able to get here. We started at the 34-yard line as the line of scrimmage. Look where Tranquil ends up. He's up here trying to get to Barkley around the 31 or 32. So he's like 2 to 3 yards in the backfield, completely blowing up this play. Because here Barkley is trying to find a way upfield. And here Tranquil is in the way and forcing him to continue out wide. And then Tranquil uncovers and forces him back inside. And then look at Leo Chanel coming from the back side of the play here. He's all the way on this side. He was over the top of the end and then sliding over. And then he comes out, cuts through the line, and pursues all the way over so that when Tranquil forces Barkley to stop, Chanel is there to clean it up. Like, look at that pursuit. Coming all the way from here, making the tackle over there on a toss play. Look at him get all the way across. And as Tranquil does the initial work, kind of stopping the play from getting going, Chanel's there to clean it up after Barkley breaks Tranquil's tackle. I mean, just continued excellent run defense. The run defense was ready for everything that the Eagles threw at them. Look at Tranquil. Just like, you're not blocking him with these tight ends today. You really feel for guys like Tranquil, Chanel, Mike Dana, Turk Wharton. They really played a great game in the Super Bowl. These guys played so well, and it's just for nothing because the offense could not do anything. Now we're a couple plays later. We've got a 3rd and 5 at the Chiefs 28-yard line or so. Again, Eagles still up 37-6. This is 8:13 to go in the game. Let's take a look at this play and then we can break it down. We've got Jalen Hurts in the pistol. Hands off left to Barkley. Bolton hits him and then Wharton brings him down for a gain of 1 yard. So this time we've got an inside zone play. So Barkley is trying to come up here and try to read a gap, this time targeting, instead of like trying to threaten the edge, the idea is coming up and targeting the center left guard area, and again trying to find a gap as the line zone blocks over to the left. So as the Eagles get started here, the first person to ruin this play is Nick Bolton, who IDs quickly, finds a gap, and just shoots through. Bolton, when his run defense, when he's decisive, coming downhill, that's when he's at his best. And he gets Barkley to stop his feet, change direction, and prevents him from gaining momentum, getting up the field and looking for a gap. As Bolton does a good job diverting him, Barkley does break his tackle, but Turk Wharton is able to uncover and clean up the play right here. So it's a great play both from Bolton and from Wharton to thwart this running play. So here you can see it from the left. Look at the line. We're just zone blocking left, trying to create an opening as Barkley will probe the left side and try to find a lane. And look at how quickly Bolton, coming from his spot right here, how quickly he identifies. He hits the A-gap, the right A-gap, flies right through, north-south. Barkley does a good job evading him, but it's all those extra steps that takes a little more time in the backfield, and it gives time for someone like Turk Wharton to shed the center right here, come off, and make a big tackle. The Chiefs' run defense continued to be effective into the fourth quarter of a game that was a blowout. This was a really great effort from this defense, and a lot of players can hang their hats on some really good tape that they put out there in the Super Bowl. It's just really unfortunate that the Chiefs offense could never get anything going until the game was out of reach, because these defenders really came up to play on what could have been the biggest day in the careers of most of these guys. You know, how often do you get to play in a Super Bowl? I know guys like Drew Tranquil have already won one. Turk Wharton's already won one, but Charles Omenihu didn't get to play last year in the Super Bowl. It's just unfortunate. These kind of legacy-making days, a lot of these guys did their part. They played really well in the run game, and they stopped the Offensive Player of the Year in Saquon Barkley to a pedestrian game. But unfortunately, the offense didn't hold up its end of the bargain, and so these efforts will largely be forgotten. We now jump ahead to 6:37 to go in the first quarter. It's still a 0-0 ball game, and the Eagles have a 2nd and 11 at the Chiefs' 28-yard line. So let's take a look at this one, and then we'll break it down. We've got Hurts in the shotgun, 3 to his right, 1 to the left. Drops back, throws a fade pattern down the right side to Jahan Dotson. Makes the catch. It was called a touchdown on the field, but it was ruled down at the 1-yard line. So let's break down what happened on this play. The Eagles coming out here in 11 personnel with 1 running back and 1 tight end. That gets you 11 personnel, and they've got 3 wide receivers. Jahan Dotson out wide. His name is escaped. Devontae Smith in the slot, and Ajay Brown over here on the left. So what the Chiefs are going to do here on defense is they're going to run a blitz. They're going to try to overload the right side of the Eagles' offensive line. So right now they've got Omenihu, Jones, Wharton, and Karlaftis down. And they're going to blitz Shamari Connor and Nick Bolton here through the B gap. So I believe what they think is going to happen here. So in order to kind of stay on top of everything, so they've got man-to-man coverage here, man-to-man coverage here. They're going to rotate Tranquil to get on top of the tight end here. Man-to-man coverage here. We've got 1 deep safety. And then Charles Omenihu is going to drop to try to help any hot route here. So I believe with this blitz, what Spags was hoping for was that the Eagles would slide their line toward Chris Jones. Oftentimes teams will double Chris Jones. So I think he thought that we would get Omenihu blocked here. You'd slide the center toward Jones. So then the right guard would take Wharton. The tackle would take Karlaftis, and he could get 2 free here, one of whom Barkley would pick up, but then the other one would come through free on a blitz. I think that's what he thought would happen. But unfortunately for the Chiefs, they left Jones one-on-one. And so then when Omenihu dropped off, then there were enough people for the Eagles to block. So the Eagles' route combination here, they're going to have Dotson run a fade pattern. Smith is going to run a hook, so that'll be kind of the hot route here. Goddard's going to run an in cut, and then Brown's going to release outside and then run an out route. So unfortunately for the Chiefs, like we said, the line didn't slide the way we anticipated. So here, the right guard is able to pick up Bolton, and Connor comes through, but Barkley does a great job picking him up. So the blitz is picked up. Now you just kind of have one-on-one across the board, and Hurts has got to try to pick his matchup. I will say Karlaftis did a good job at least trying to get somebody in Hurts' face, and Connor didn't give up even though being initially stoned by Barkley. Barkley did really a great job holding him off of Hurts. But unfortunately for the Chiefs here, Jalen Watson, who's normally a very good press coverage, just gets got when he tries to jam the receiver. He tries to jam Dotson, and Dotson honestly is able to get off the jam and then use a nice little hesitation and go, and get some great separation on Watson, who just cannot recover. It's too bad. I mean, Watson, this is just a poor rep from him, a guy who typically excels in this kind of coverage. He's a very physical corner. Normally, I'd like my chances having Watson one-on-one with Dotson, but Jahan Dotson just got him on this one. Beat him badly, and that in combination with the Eagles setting a right protection for the Chiefs blitz led to a really bad play for the Chiefs defense. So again, I think what they were hoping was going to happen was that the Eagles would man up here and then have Dickerson and the center responsible for Chris Jones, which then would have Becton come to Wharton, Johnson here, and then Bolton and Connor could both come free through the B gap. Instead, they left these two one-on-one, which then allowed the center to come help and Becton to go get Bolton. And so only Connor was able to come through the gap and Barkley was able to pick him up. So we can see that in action here. Bolton gets picked up. Amenahu drops off to try to help with any hot route underneath. And Connor comes through the B gap, but Barkley does just a great job in blitz pickup. This is a really good rep from Barkley. Good throw from Hurts to a wide open Dotson. He had really gotten like 1.5 yards of separation. And gets the Eagles all the way down to the 1 yard line. We now jump ahead to 14:21 to go in the second quarter. The Eagles are up 7-0, and they have a 3rd and 10 at the Chiefs' 30-yard line. Let's take a look at this play, and then we'll break it down. We've got Hurts in the shotgun, 3 to his left, 1 to the right. Drops back, gets pressure in his face, and throws a pass that's intercepted by Brian Cook at the 2 yard line, and the Chiefs take over down 7-0. All right. So let's start with what the Chiefs defense is doing on this play to combat the Eagles offensive set. So the Eagles are in 11 personnel, 1 running back, 1 tight end, gets you 11 personnel. And the Chiefs are showing 2 high. It kind of looks like cover 2 man. They've at least got men on top. There might be man coverage here. You definitely see the 2 high. So you're looking at either like a cover 2 zone or cover 2 man possible quarters coverage. And initially, Jaden Hicks is up at the line of scrimmage, and then Nick Bolton ends up coming up late too. So the Chiefs end up getting what they wanted on the previous play. We were talking about the Jahan Dotson long pass. This time, the Eagles did slide their line left. At least they slid the left side of their line to the left. I think they were concerned about Jaden Hicks blitzing as he had been the first guy up at the front. So they slide left over here and then man up over on this side. So what happens is the Chiefs end up, the C's kind of part for Nick Bolton because they slide left, but Jaden Hicks ends up dropping back. So the C's part for Nick Bolton, who comes in right through the A gap. Additionally, the Chiefs blitz Trent McDuffie here from the out wide, which is rare for Spagnuolo. He usually will blitz defensive backs that are in more condensed splits near the slot or inside the numbers, but he blitzes McDuffie from out wide, which occupies Saquon Barkley and allows Bolton to go completely free through the A gap. In order to compensate for losing this corner, they bring Justin Reed here to man up Ajay Brown and rotate Brian Cook around here. And on this side, they drop Mike Dana and Jaden Hicks. So they end up with 4 guarding 3 over here and then 2 guarding 1 over here. So they end up with numbers on both sides of the field and a free rusher right down the A gap. The route combinations for the Eagles, they've got Ajay Brown going deep. It's kind of like a 4 vert set, even though they get like kind of an in cut here and then Goddard also coming in. But they've got these vertical releases for all 4. And as you see, look at the offensive line sliding to the left, but since Dana and Hicks are both out, they're really sliding to the left just to block Chris Jones. And due to that slide, then Nick Bolton can just fire right through the B gap. Or the A gap. Barkley is coming out because McDuffie's over here blitzing, and you see Reed coming to replace and Cook coming over too. So you see now as we drop, And Dana does a good job of kind of rubbing through Goddard's route within the, let's see, is he within the first 5 yards? Oh yeah, he's certainly within the first 5 yards. Line of scrimmage was the 30. So he jams him right here at the 32 yards. This is legal contact. You can, inside the first 5 yards, you can make contact. So he brushes through him to slow his route. And Hicks has got him inside. You've got two guys topping the routes, and then Dana comes underneath. So you've got a nice box, 4 covering 3. Over here, Cook is coming over to help so that they have 2 on this side. And Hurts gets pressure immediately through the A gap as Spags got what he wanted with his blitz. And Hurts throws this up there, and it looks like he's trying to throw back shoulder to Brown. But this is where Cook just does a great job covering ground and getting over there to make the interception. Because this ball placement actually doesn't look that bad. If you see, like, I think he's trying to drop this back shoulder, which, I mean, Reed's in pretty good position here, so it would have been a tough play, but this definitely could have potentially been caught. But Cook does a good job coming and getting it. He just covers ground really great here, goes over and gets it, and that's a big turnover. So again, what happens with the line, it looks like they were anticipating Hicks coming because they end up sliding this half of the line to the left. Unfortunately for them, Dana and Hicks drop, so the only guy on this side is Chris Jones. They man block over here, and actually they get a stunt here, but they're just blocking man-to-man, and so Bolton has nobody blocking him, and he's able to just scream through the A-gap. There he goes. Gets right in Hurts' face, and as you see, the reason why Barkley wasn't there to get Bolton is he's getting McDuffie, who is blitzing off the edge. Hurts throws it up there, and a great catch from Cook to get the interception. Looks like, you know, from this view, this throw probably would have been short. This probably would have just fallen in the ground. Never mind, the ball placement was not good for a back shoulder throw. From the side camera, you can tell as much, but this ball is going to hit the dirt, probably at like the 2-yard line. Cook does a great job here making the catch and getting a turnover. The defense really put in a lot of work to try to keep this a game early on, but unfortunately the offense's mistakes piled up too much. We now jump ahead to 12:53 to go in the second quarter. At this point, the Chiefs are down 7-0, and they have a 3rd and 3 at their own 9-yard line. Let's run the play real quick, and then we'll break it down. So Mahomes starts in an empty backfield, and then he motions P. Ryan into the backfield with him. If you notice, the Eagles have a switch here that's on based on the motion. We'll get back to that in a minute. Mahomes takes the snap. He throws quickly to Kelsey, and it's incomplete. Chiefs get 4th and 3 at their own 9 and are forced to punt again, down 7-0. So what happened on this play? So initially, the Chiefs, well, first of all, the Chiefs start out in 11 personnel. There's 1 running back, 1 tight end. 1 running back and 1 tight end gets you 11 personnel. Now, this motion is actually pretty important on this play. P. Ryan motioning in causes Cooper DeJean over here to switch with Oren Burks over here all the way across the field and change responsibilities. That's a big tell that this is going to be a quarters coverage rep from the defense. Why? Because when you're playing quarters, which again, not the same thing as cover 4. This is the man match concept that was otherwise called cover 7. So in this situation, when you have a 3-by-1, like 3 receivers on one side, typically the way that defenses play this out in quarters is that the outside corner takes number 1 and the apex defender here takes number 2 unless the third guy goes into the flat. So essentially, from this alignment, the way that quarters coverage dictates, at least the way that many people run it, there are a lot of variations on this, but typically what this is saying is that Slay's primary responsibility is P. Ryan, DeJean's primary responsibility is Kelsey. So the only time DeJean wouldn't get Kelsey here is if Juju went to the flat. Now, the Chiefs motion P. Ryan in, which changes the coverage rules. Now, the reason why DeJean moves is because the new coverage rules. So let's say they stay in this alignment and Pirine comes in. In the new coverage rules, Slay gets Kelsey, and the safety typically takes the number 2 guy, and DeJean would essentially be the first to the flat, which means it happens on this play, but they can kind of predict the most likely person to go to the flat is Pirine. So essentially, by moving Pirine in, the Chiefs would change the coverage rules here so that DeJean would essentially just be covering the running back in the flat, and he's a great slot defender. Well, the Eagles don't want to waste him on that. So when they see the back go into flat, DeJean has the responsibility to switch, make sure he's actually utilized properly. And so he runs over to the other side to be on top of DeAndre Hopkins. And then they move the linebacker over. So now Zach Bond takes over that role, and he's going to be first to the flat. So the Chiefs, seeing this, Mahomes should know immediately this is going to be quarters coverage. And so essentially what he's got is Slay over the top of Kelsey, carrying him vertically. The safety, Blankenship, over Juju, carrying him vertically. And Bond is going to be the first guy to the flat. And so that's what ends up happening here. So Juju's running a slant. Kelsey is coming up and running a curl. And then they're getting Pirine out to the flat. So if you notice, Zach Bond's going to follow Pirine to the flat. Slay's trying to stay on top of Kelsey. Blankenship's trying to stay on top of Juju. So here we go. Kelsey comes and he turns at the first down marker. You see Bond widening here. He's going out to follow the flat guy. That's his responsibility. Don't get beat to the flat. So Mahomes sees this and immediately knows that he's going to get a little gap here for Kelsey as the linebacker goes out. And ultimately what happens, so Mahomes decides to throw right about here, is I think Mahomes and Kelsey aren't entirely on the same page about where they expect the ideal place to go in that gap. So Bond is here, and I think Kelsey is anticipating him to continue to widen out. And so Kelsey just kind of turns and sits. Mahomes, he's about to throw at this moment. So it looks like he kind of sees this triangle, and he's just trying to hit the middle of the triangle. I think he's anticipating Kelsey's going to turn this in a little bit, and he's trying to hit the middle, like just in case Bond does like hang out instead of flying all the way to the flat. He doesn't want to put this throw in harm's way for Bond. So here Kelsey turns, and Mahomes puts this right toward the middle of that triangle, and Kelsey's not prepared for it. It's a little lower than I think he anticipates too. I think like a lot of people have analyzed this play saying they thought this was an inaccurate throw from Mahomes. I think he's just trying to put it in a safe spot. I think he's just like, there's a lot of traffic here. Mahomes is not someone who throws into tight coverage a lot. There's a lot of traffic here. He's putting the ball in a safe spot right in the middle of the triangle and putting it low so there's no chance for it to be intercepted. And honestly, it's not as far from being completed as you'd think. Like Kelsey actually gets down there and it kind of looks like he might have got his hand on it. I feel like Mahomes is getting a little too much criticism for this throw. To me, this is one of those where if Kelsey just like what I thought in real time was I thought that Kelsey was surprised by the throw and it was a timing issue, and that's why they weren't kind of on the same page. But if you notice, Mahomes is winding up. Kelsey already has his eyes back right now. So this isn't a timing issue. He's watching Mahomes get ready to deliver this ball. I honestly feel like Kelsey kind of reacts a little slowly here. Like he's ready. If Kelsey just sits down when you see the trajectory of this ball, just get to the ground, get your butt to the ground. I don't know. Maybe Kelsey's not aware that he's beyond the first down marker and he thinks he's going to have to run a little bit after the catch. But the first down marker is right here. Kelsey is beyond that first down marker. If he just sits down, he's going to catch this ball, and that's going to be a first down. But he kind of bends over like I would trying to pick my kid's toy off the ground, and he's not able to reel this in. It's unfortunate because that, if you, again, like I said, he's looking back here. He should be, this trajectory of this ball shouldn't surprise him. If you look from this moment when Mahomes going to throw, when you see it, like maybe the ball came in a little hot. Like that's the other critique potentially here, but it's just two guys that are not on the same page. And honestly, like I don't really have a fault here with Mahomes with the ball placement. You see this triangle of defenders. He's just putting it right in the middle. But for whatever reason, he and Kelsey just weren't on the same page with that. I honestly think if Kelsey just goes down to the ground, like sits down instead of trying to bend over, this is a catch and it's a first down. Unfortunately, on the other side, where DeJean had come up on Hopkins, he presses Hopkins. Hopkins and Worthy are both running slants, and Hopkins comes open. So if Mahomes had read this backside, then this could have been a first down. The alternative, too, is if Mahomes felt like this was too tight and just held on for a beat, he's going to have Juju come open on the slant right here, too. And fortunately for the Chiefs, this is one where the pass rush didn't completely disrupt it. But this is not a bad read from Mahomes at this moment to throw this to Kelsey. He knows his responsibility is to go out wide. He's over the top. I mean, the throw's there. And Mahomes, in my opinion, actually makes a perfectly adequate throw. It's just that Kelsey, for whatever reason, thinks the ball is going to come over here. And when it does come down here, which he shouldn't have been surprised by because he's watching the throw in, even though in real time it is, it's a quick throw. He just reacts a little slowly and doesn't get down to it. It's unfortunate. I mean, I don't know that you can fully fault either guy here. There's a little bit of blame for both of them. They're just not quite on the same page. And that's kind of what the story was for the Chiefs when they weren't getting pressured and getting dominated. It's like you got to make these plays right the way the Chiefs play offense right now. They play it very conservatively. They're trying to move the ball. You can't mess up on these 3rd and 3s. That's how their offense is set up to convert 3rd down. But see, as you see, this isn't a terrible throw. It almost looks like it hits Kelsey in the hands. Like if Kelsey just goes down and sits here, this should be a first down. But instead, the Chiefs are punting again. We're now at 7:16 to go in the second quarter. The Chiefs are down 10-0, and they have a 3rd and about 16 at their own 24-yard line or so. Mahomes has been sacked twice in 2 plays in a row, and so they're now in a deep hole, 3rd down, and still down 10-0, about just over halfway through the second quarter. So Mahomes is in the shotgun. He's got P. Ryan to his left, 3 receivers to his right, and they run a rollout play to try to give him some more time. He throws it, which is intercepted by Cooper DeJean, who takes it back the other way and manages to go all the way in for a touchdown to make this 17-0 Eagles. So let's break this down. What happened here? The Chiefs come out in 11 personnel. They've got 1 running back, Samaje Perine, 1 tight end, Noah Gray. They end up here because of how poorly they've done against the pass rush. Now, having been sacked on consecutive plays, they decide to move the pocket. So they're going to get Mahomes on the run, moving the pocket, and they're going to keep Noah Gray in to block. They decide to run a flood concept. So they're going to have Hollywood Brown run the deep route. They're going to have Xavier Worthy run intermediate, and they're going to have Perine come across to the flat. They kind of condense the field. The Chiefs like to do this against zone teams, try to flood a zone on one side with multiple routes, and then they have DeAndre Hopkins coming in on the backside. So the Eagles, again, are in quarters coverage, and they really do a good job of pushing over toward the strong side of the formation. They're really trying to sell out to the strong side of the formation, perfectly okay isolating a corner on the backside, and they did this a lot during this game. So ultimately, with Worthy, that's Slay staying over the top of him, and they have the number 2, the safety, staying over the top of him. And when Perine comes out to the flat, Zach Bond picks him up in his responsibility. And so their 4th defender in this area is Cooper DeJean, who's somewhat allowed to freelance. Now, ideally for the Chiefs, Cooper DeJean would be caught in conflict here, having to try to squeeze Xavier Worthy, as Worthy's trying to be the intermediate guy. So a lot of things go wrong on this play from the Chiefs' perspective. I think what initially happens is Mahomes is rolling, and he's really waiting on Worthy. He's hoping to get Worthy open here on the outside. But unfortunately, Worthy is not able to get Darius Slay to push hard enough deep. He's not able to get him to actually turn and run before he stops at the sticks. And so Slay is able to slow up here and get into a position to drive on a throw. And I think Mahomes recognizes this at the last second, and he can't throw this to Worthy. Slay is too close. Look how quickly. I mean, this is a really, really good job by Darius Slay of sitting on this and turning. It's like he was ready for that. I'm guessing, Worthy's route is to run it right here to the sticks, but unfortunately, you've got to get him a little more afraid of your speed before you break this out. Slay started in so far off coverage that he needed to get him to turn and run a little bit harder, either by just pushing this, sprinting more right here to get him to actually turn and run, or carrying this route a little farther. But Slay seemed completely ready for him to stop at the sticks, and so Mahomes can't throw this ball. This would be an interception waiting to happen. Unfortunately, though, by the time that Mahomes is in a position where he realizes he can't throw this ball, he doesn't really have any option. The option that he goes to is DeAndre Hopkins. And so let's go back here and see what's going on from Hopkins' perspective. So Hopkins is running it over. And one can be critical of him on this play, too, for a couple reasons. The Eagles have done a good job, and they did all night, of flooding the strong side. So right now they've got 4 over 3. So it's already crowded. There are a lot of defenders here, more defenders than there are receivers. They also have guys pushing from this side over. This is just an extremely crowded area. So I first heard Matthew Lane in Kansas City Sports Network bring this up, but DeAndre Hopkins should be throttling this route down, right? There's no need to go run into all of this traffic, right? There are a bunch of defenders here. This is actually a more open area. It behooves you to stay more toward the middle of the field here. So there's no reason to just keep running hard right here like he is. He kind of runs himself into traffic and actually runs to a position where DeJean can undercut the route coming back. So the two things that Matthew Lane said that I agree with both of them is, one, he's got to throttle this down, and two, he's got to flatten the route a little bit, because he's getting topped here by Quinyon Mitchell. And so keep carrying this deep allows Mitchell a chance to come and undercut this too. If you notice, by the time Mahomes throws this, Mitchell was really there to try to make a play on this ball. This would have been a tough contested catch for Hopkins. But if Hopkins, instead of running this up, which I understand, he's trying to run to the sticks, but here, if you adjust this route to run it slower, first of all, you can throttle down a little bit because Mitchell doesn't have as much of an angle to come and get you, and you can box him out a little more. So you can run this route slower, and you can keep it flatter so that you can stay more toward the middle of the field, and Mitchell can't come and undercut it. But it really doesn't make sense to run it hard and deeper into all the coverage, and you saw the end result of that. So that's number two, is that one is you feel like Worthy, in order to get open here, has got to get Slay to commit more to covering deep. Because the reason, again, is that Slay started with a huge head start. Slay's way back here. This is a different route. I mean, this route is fine if Slay started here, because Slay would have had to turn and run with him. But there was so much ground to cover even to start challenging Slay that he never got into a position where he really had to commit to turn. He turns his hips a little bit, but he's able to stop quickly and come back. So that's number one. Number two is that Hopkins is just running himself into traffic at this point. This is not a good place to be. And then number three is that Mahomes should never have thrown this ball, because Hopkins ran himself into traffic. I think this is just a guy pressing. People will say that, you throw to Hopkins now, right? Which is true. You throw to Hopkins now, but the problem is at this moment right now, you believe that there's a chance that Worthy's going to get open. And I think that's what Mahomes is looking for. He thinks there's still a chance that, for all you know, Slay is going to turn and run, and then Worthy's going to be open. So he's fixated on this route. He's not coming backside yet, And so I think that's why he doesn't. That would be the throw. That's the one that could potentially have moved the chain. That might not have. You might have got a 12-yard gain here. But the one throw that he does have is the backside throw to Hopkins now, early. But I understand why he's not taking that. He's looking at Worthy. Then when he realizes Worthy's not there, At that point, this is a much more risky throw because Hopkins has not flattened it. He has not throttled down and stayed in the middle. Instead, he's running himself into coverage, and he's got Cooper DeJean. I think Mahomes probably thought DeJean would press this a little bit more, but DeJean has faith in Slay on the backside. In any case, and DeJean's probably worried about Mahomes running too. So he didn't press it, so this throw's not there. At this point, when you've sat on Worthy and he's not got open essentially, and you've got Hopkins who, if Hopkins were right here at this moment or right here, there's a better chance that you can make this throw. Well, he's up here, you can't. At this point, you just got to throw it away. Or dump this off and get essentially 5 yards and live to see another game, or maybe 5 yards if you're lucky. Honestly, it might be more like 3. But this throw is not there. And so in the circumstances, it's a poor decision by Mahomes. He shouldn't make this throw. I understand why he didn't throw it now, which is unfortunate. I mean, and I do wish that Worthy had been able to get some separation here, and he wasn't. But Mahomes didn't have a good throw by the time he realized that Worthy wasn't going to get separation. You just got to live and play another day. Like, you can't make this throw. And unfortunately, he did, and that's a man that's pressing. He's down 10-0. He's been sacked twice in a row and made a poor decision. But as you see here, he gets on Hopkins late because he's looking, and he only comes back to Hopkins right around here. Look at him looking out to his right. He's looking at Worthy. And it's this moment right around here. He feels like Worthy's not going to be open, so he turns his head back, sees Hopkins, and lets it rip. DeJean is sitting on it. Great play by him. And the Eagles get a big play, make it 17-0. We now are at 3:07 to go in the first half. The Eagles up 17-0, and they have a 1st and 20 at their own 35-yard line. So let's take a look at this play, and then we'll break it down. Jalen Hurts is in shotgun with Saquon Barkley next to him. They send the tight end in motion and bring him back. Hurts drops back to throw, looks left, nothing there. He looks right and drops back and is tripped up by George Karlaftis as he tries to escape. Ends up going down as a sack and a loss of 6 yards. So what happens on this play? So the Eagles come out in 12 personnel. They've got one running back, Saquon Barkley. There are 2 tight ends here. They've got, his name is escaping me now. Who is the tight end? I keep thinking of the Bills tight ends, but Dallas Goedert, there's his name. Lots of tight ends' names start with D. Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, Dalton Schultz. Dallas Goedert is the one that I'm thinking of right here. And this is Grant Calcaterra. I don't actually know how to say his last name, but these are the 2 Eagles tight ends. Ajay Brown is out here wide, and Devontae Smith is in the slot. So the Eagles, essentially, they come in 12 personnel, heavier personnel. They know the Chiefs are worried about the run. The Chiefs match in base. So you think the Eagles really like their setup here. The Chiefs are showing single high. Right now they've got Justin Reed sitting over Devontae Smith, Jalen Watson over A.J. Brown. Trent McDuffie is over here over the tight end. So, with single high, with Brian Cook over here, you got to your 2 best receivers are essentially against the second corner and a safety. And so the Eagles kind of set this up pretty nicely. The Chiefs, though, end up rotating. If you notice, before the snap, they drop Justin Reed and get Drew Tranquill wider. So they actually go into a cover 2 man. So they're really manned up here, man to man. And then McDuffie ends up taking him. Chanel takes Barkley, and then Dallas Goedert is taken by Nick Bolton. So again, this is a pretty favorable set of matchups for the Eagles, right? So when they come out, Brown ends up going down the sideline. Devontae Smith comes and does a back-looking route. Goddard comes on an in-cut. Barkley also comes toward the middle of the field, and McDuffie gets taken up the sideline. But if you look, the Chiefs actually cover this pretty well. So first, Tranquill gets out to Devontae Smith and stays over the top of this. Chanel does a good job of getting width with Barkley, and then when Barkley decides to come back in the middle of the field, he's on top of it. Bolton stays inside of Goddard, and Cook does a good job staying on top of him, so they end up having that pretty well. Bolton knows he's got help over the top. He kind of plays more of like a wall coverage, preventing like an in-breaking route here, and Cook stays over the top there. And look like everybody's really matched up. And you look, Jalen Hurts initially is looking over to his left because ultimately he's got Ajay Brown against Jalen Watson, who has a really good rep here, and Devontae Smith on Drew Tranquil. You've got to love that matchup. But the Chiefs actually cover it really well. So Hurts at this point realizes he's got nothing there, so he looks back to his right. And again, everything is covered up well. The Chiefs did a great job here in coverage. And so Hurts does what most people do against cover 2 man. Cover 2 man is a great coverage to run against for the quarterback because your 2 safeties are deep. Everybody else is running after a man. So nobody has eyes on the quarterback. If you're able to evade the rush, you're usually able to get quite a bit of yards with your legs before one of these guys can break off a man. Additionally, the 3 guys that are closest to the line of scrimmage are all linebackers, so these are slower players too. So Hurts at this point decides to run, and it's partially because Chris Jones gets doubled here and then tries to swing around. So it looks like there's a wide open gap here with a B gap for Hurts to run, and he sees that, but they've got a good job by Turk Wharton pushing the pocket here. That kind of crushes it a little bit. So whereas when Jones vacated, you think like there's going to be a wide open lane, Wharton did a good job of at least filling that a little bit, getting in there. And then Karlaftis really saves the day here by, as he's coming around Johnson, just getting a little bit of Hurts' ankle, because otherwise I think Hurts is gone here. Wharton does try to scrape around here, but I don't think Wharton's going to catch him if Hurts wasn't tripped up initially. This is just a huge effort play by Karlaftis. If Karlaftis doesn't kind of nick Hurts' ankle, and I think part of the reason he's able to do that is because this pocket is getting collapsed by Wharton. If Wharton had been like a yard or 2 back, there probably would have been enough of a lane for Hurts to run and avoid Karlaftis and get out of there, and then all bets are off. This might be a 15-plus yard run. But since Wharton did a good job collapsing this pocket, Karlaftis has a chance, and he takes that chance and makes the best of it, grabs Hurts' ankle and trips him up. They get a sack and a loss of 6. You can see it from the pass rush from this angle. First, you can see Hurts looking over to the left, as we told you, his left. He's trying to see if Smith or Brown can get open initially. Then look at, initially they've got good rush lane integrity, and then Jones decides to bring this around. And when he does that, Wharton does a good job compensating here. He's holding his ground, but it does look like there's a window here, and Hurts would have been going for a while. This is just huge credit to George Karlaftis being able to get some of Hurts' ankle there and trip him up, preventing a big gain, and instead resulting in a big play for the defense. Ultimately, the defense would force a punt yet again. So for those people that are really critical of the defense, and yeah, the defense had some bad plays in the pass game. In the first half, the real bad play was that pass allowed to Dotson by Jalen Watson, but otherwise the defense was really good in the first half. Overall in this game, they played well enough to win this game. So I think there's already some revisionist history of people like, well, the Chiefs defense really got by the Eagles. Like, not really. Not until the game was like so out of hand that the defense was demoralized and had been on the field all day, and it was clear the offense wasn't going to back them up. At this point, through the first half, the defense really played a great game, and you can see it here too. They're already down 17-0 late in the second quarter, and they're continuing to try to give the offense chances, forcing a punt again here. We jump ahead now to 1:40 to go in the first half. The Eagles are up 17-0. The Chiefs have turned it over again deep in their own territory. This is the second play of the Eagles' drive, and they have a 2nd and 8 at the Chiefs' about 14-yard line or so. So here we will run the play and then we'll break it down. So we've got Hurts in the shotgun, Saquon Barkley to his right. He throws it over to his left to Ajay Brown, wide open for the touchdown across the field, and the Eagles go up 24-0 in the first half. So this, to me, was a play where the Eagles just schematically, they had a good play drawn up and they just got the Chiefs. The Eagles are in 12 personnel. They've got one running back, 2 tight ends here. Gets you 12 personnel. And the Chiefs again match with 3 linebackers on the field. So especially here, this is a second down. Chiefs with a big personnel. They're really worried about run. And they get set up with a big, package here. And these are fewer guys that are used to running with wide receivers and that are great in coverage, right? Drew Tranquill is the only Chiefs linebacker that's probably not a clear negative in coverage, and one would argue that this was probably his worst year in coverage that he's had. He was a lot better of a coverage player, it felt like, with the Chargers and even last year. So what the Chiefs are trying to do defensively against a potential pass is they're running a cover 1 man. So they're having Jaden Hicks be their deep safety. And they've got man responsibilities here, man responsibility here. So, again, you've got a corner on a tight end. And then over here, they're trying to match the bunch. So they've got 3 here, and how they get picked up is going to be dependent on release. So usually the kind of inside releasing guy will be taken by him. The outside releasing guy will be taken by him. And Justin Reed is going to get whoever's left. Well, the way that the Eagles run this, they have Barkley as the outside releasing guy. So Trent McDuffie is matched up on the running back. Brown is the inside releasing guy, so he gets a linebacker. And then Justin Reed gets Devontae Smith. So the Eagles, by the way they set up this formation, got the Chiefs personnel on the field, and then used the Chiefs coverage rules, they end up getting A.J. Brown isolated on a linebacker. Well, it looks like Drew Tranquill is the initial assignment, with then Nick Bolton being the underneath robber guy and Jaden Hicks is the deep guy. However, since it's a cross-the-field route, and it's really a mesh route, they've got 2 routes coming up here to try to create traffic for the defender. If you see, Tranquill passes this off to Bolton, being like, hey, he's coming across the field, you have a little of a head start on him, you take it, and Tranquill ends up being the underneath guy. But again, Bolton, A, is slower than Tranquill, and he's going up against A.J. Brown, who's a freak athlete, and he's going to have to navigate through all this traffic of the mesh route. And so there's just no hope for Bolton. He gets slowed down a little bit here, and there's no hope for him to cover. This is just a huge mismatch. The Eagles, this is when one team out-schemes the other. The Eagles had a good play call from this formation that took advantage of what the Chiefs were trying to do and ended up with their best wide receiver against possibly the Chiefs' slowest coverage defender. Leo Chenal at least has straight line speed. He's not a great change of direction guy, so the slowest of the coverage guys for the Chiefs was the guy guarding their best wide receiver, and that's just, tip your cap to Kellen Moore, their offensive coordinator. Drew up a good play in a good situation from a good formation and absolutely took advantage of the Chiefs. This was probably, the Chiefs had 2 bad reps in the first half. The first one was that bomb to Dotson, and the second one was this. This one I can't really blame on anything other than sometimes the other team calls a play that gets you, and I think that's all that happened here. This was just a very well-designed play by the Eagles to match what the Chiefs were trying to do, and there's really nothing one could expect. I mean, you can't expect Nick Bolton to be able to do that. The Chiefs had their big guys in against the threat of a run in that situation, and the Eagles ran a good route combination that got their receiver on a really favorable matchup, and they scored a touchdown. We're now at 40 seconds to go in the first half. Chiefs down 24-0, and they have a 3rd and 11 at their own 29-yard line. Let's take a look at this play, and then we'll break it down. Got Mahomes in the shotgun with P. Ryan next to him. Worthy is isolated on the right side. He's got 3 to his left. He takes a snap and scrambles out to his right and throws to DeAndre Hopkins, who's not able to bring it in, and the Chiefs are forced to punt. Well, this was a particularly frustrating play, and I think this is one of those where most Chiefs fans felt like, okay, well, this is just not going to be our day. Like, it's not going to happen. Some might say that happened when Mahomes threw the pick six, but I feel like that's a little bit hindsight bias, knowing how the game turned out. Like, it was 17-0, but it wasn't insurmountable. I think here the Chiefs knew they were going to get the ball to start the third quarter. They just wanted to do something to end the first half, get some points on the board, feel like they were moving the ball, have some hope that something could happen. And when we saw this play break wide open and it not be completed, I think that was the moment when you were like, okay, maybe this just isn't going to happen today. Anyway, let's talk about what happened, because it's really unfortunate this play didn't work, because the Chiefs finally found an opportunity to exploit a little bit of what the Eagles were doing. So again, the Eagles are playing this quarters coverage where they really overload the strong side. So they are trying to get, of these three guys, they're trying to get 4 over 3 over here on this side. And essentially what they do is they set up their corners to play man-to-man on the backside. So here, Darius Slay essentially has Xavier Worthy in man coverage. And so you are responsible for him. That's it. And everybody else is kind of cheating over to this side of the field where you have the strong formation to try to really muddy the waters here as much as possible. And we saw it earlier on the earlier play where the Chiefs had a flood concept, right? Where they had receivers coming out like this. This was on the right side of the field, but at 3 different levels. But there were just so many defenders, and it resulted in an interception to Cooper DeJean. Well, finally, the Chiefs are like, okay, if you are going to flood everybody over here, especially these guys essentially are matching toward this side, and you have one-on-one on the backside, what if we run Xavier Worthy across the field and take away this backside corner? He's going to run with him. And then they run Justin Watson on a deep route to carry this safety, and then get DeAndre Hopkins on an over route behind it, and it pops wide open. So if you see here with the concept, they're running Worthy over because Slay has essentially got him in man-to-man coverage. Now look at the defensive alignment. They have everybody matching over to the strong side. And so as Watson goes up, the one guy who's going to follow somebody going weak is this safety, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I think he goes by C.J. Gardner-Johnson. So Watson will occupy him, and then you can run Hopkins in behind, and there's nobody there. The Chiefs finally did something to match and exploit what the Eagles were doing. And then, of course, they can't connect. It's incredibly frustrating, because this was actually a really, like, we talk about, like, Andy Reid needed to adjust. He needed to figure out what they were doing and adjust. He got one on this play. This is what he did. This was a perfect play call for what the Eagles were doing. And the Chiefs, I mean, it was just one of those days. And it looks like what happened. In real time, I thought Hopkins just tripped. What it looks like what happened is Hopkins kind of throttles this route down. If you notice in his next couple frames, he's like kind of slowed up, and then he feels the need to accelerate. I think he had kind of slowed up because he was open. You know, we talked about on the Cooper DeJean interception that Hopkins should have slowed that one up because he was running into traffic. Well, here he's not running into traffic. So Mahomes doesn't expect him to slow up. He's like, you know, run this full sprint. There's no one in front of you. If you look at him here, there's nobody in front of you. Why? There's no need to just run your route. I'll hit you in stride and keep going. But for some reason, it looks like if you watch it here, as Hopkins makes his break, he seems to slow this up just a little bit and then realize, oh, I got to go a little faster than that. He still gets his hands on it. Like, you got to catch this ball. But if he just keeps going at full tilt right here, you see how he had to accelerate right there. He starts to pick it up a little bit. If he just keeps going, or if Mahomes just drops this ball back just a little bit, but I really feel like Mahomes is just not expecting him to slow up. If they're able to connect on this, Bill Barnwell said that the expected yards after catch on this play was 26 yards. So if he had made this catch, let's say right here at the 46-yard line, I mean, that gets you about to the 28 or so. If he got 26 yards. And honestly, if Justin Watson makes a block here, like, I mean, DeAndre Hopkins isn't that fast at this age, so it's possible someone like Quinyon Mitchell could get there. But I think if Justin Watson makes a really good block, like, that's a kind of situation where Quinyon Mitchell has to make a tackle inside like the 15-yard line. Just so unfortunate that they weren't on the same page here. If Hopkins just runs through this one, or if Mahomes drops this a little bit, kind of hits him in the number, or slows him down with the throw rather than leading him, this could have been a really big play. Obviously, if Hopkins did get this kind of throttled down throw, his yards after catch would probably be less because he'd have be coming from more of a stop position, which is why I think Mahomes led him. It's just like, let's go. Like, you make a yards after the catch throw, which is lead him. Just incredibly frustrating that on a situation like this where the Chiefs had them, they took advantage of what they were doing and they couldn't execute. And again, the Chiefs had to punt. And this was really the moment where you felt like, yeah, I mean, we would have needed something huge at this point, and now it feels like we would need an actual miracle to come back in this game. In a game that gave Chiefs fans few reasons for happiness, one positive takeaway is that Xavier Worthy looks like the real deal. The potential for the Patrick Mahomes-Xavier Worthy connection in the years to come is something that it should excite all Chiefs fans. The Chiefs started to get Xavier Worthy involved in this game in the third quarter, and as the game progressed and the Eagles' defensive line got really tired of dominating the Chiefs' offensive line, the Chiefs had a little bit of time and were able to utilize Xavier Worthy's dynamic skills down the field. This is something that I hope will be incorporated more and more into the Chiefs' offense as they go. As you know, the Chiefs have been a more precision passing game in the last couple years, taking underneath throws, moving the ball down the field methodically. But as the Eagles showed, that a cap can be put on that as well. And having dynamic ability again will be a must for this Chiefs offense going forward. And I think it'll all start with Xavier Worthy. Well, let's take a look at what he did in this game. Starting here with 14:39 to go in the third quarter. At this point, the Chiefs are already down 24-0. We're coming out of halftime, and the Chiefs have a 2nd and 4 at their own 36-yard line. Let's take a look at this play, and then we'll break it down. Mahomes is in the shotgun. Pacheco's to his right. He's got 3 to the left, 1 to the right. He drops back, throws it quick to Worthy, who breaks a tackle and scampers upfield for a gain of 8. And for the Chiefs' second first down of the game, coming early in the second half. So let's break down what happened. As they had done for most of this game, the Chiefs came out in 11 personnel, meaning they have 1 running back, that's Isaiah Pacheco, and 1 tight end, Travis Kelce. Their 3 wide receivers are Hollywood Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Xavier Worthy. With the Chiefs run, they've got a slant-flat combination here with Brown running the slant, Pacheco coming out into the flat. They've got Kelce running a little hook over the middle with Juju running a slant behind him. And Worthy is just going to sit here because of the amount of respect given to him by Quinyon Mitchell. He's got that much room, so he just stops. Mahomes identifies this pre-snap that he's got this kind of off coverage, and he just throws it out there to give Worthy a chance to make a play. The Eagles have been an incredibly good tackling defense on these short to underneath passes. And you see here, Quinyon Mitchell is ready to come up, and his tackle's broken immediately by Xavier Worthy, who then is quick enough to get 8 yards and a first down. This dynamic ability is going to come in handy for years to come with the Chiefs, and to add some elusiveness, this is a great tackling team, and Quinyon Mitchell is a great tackling corner. Always good to see. And this play is kind of exemplary of what happened throughout the night here. You can see the Eagles look at all their defenders and how they're guarding this. Mitchell is starting out, but he's ready to charge forward. Look, the safety here, I think that's Blankenship. Right at the snap, he's trying to go over to the slant flat combo. These guys aren't worried at all about being beaten deep because they know that Mahomes isn't going to have time. I mean, you need 3.5, 4 seconds back in the pocket for your receivers to be able to make it downfield and get open deep. They're up 24-0, and that makes it even easier for them to just sit on the shallow stuff because they know that anything, they're not really that worried about the run. Their defensive linemen can pin their ears back and just go after the quarterback. And if Mahomes is going to get this ball off, he's going to have to do it quick. Even then, with a hard charging, good tackling corner, Worthy's able to break this tackle and get a first down. Good way to get him started in this game, get some kind of rhythm. Although, obviously, it was way too little, way too late. Here it is from the end zone. And you can see Mahomes is just looking for Worthy. He sees the off coverage. He's going to give him a chance. Worthy does a good job of catching the ball and quickly moving laterally to get out of Mitchell's tackle, getting upfield for the first down. Well, now we're at 2:33 to go in the second quarter, and the Chiefs are down 34-0. They've got a 1st and 10 at their own 10-yard line. And let's take a look at the play, and then we'll break it down. Mahomes is in the gun. He's got Worthy and Brown to his left, Kelsey to his right. He drops back, has time to climb the pocket, and fires it over the middle to Worthy, who catches it outside the numbers and gets down to the 40-yard line for a gain of 50. So, what happened in this play? The Chiefs, again, this time come out in 12 personnel. So they've got one running back and they've got 2 tight ends, Noah Gray and Travis Kelce. And they really work hard to protect Mahomes here on this one. So what they end up doing is they double both defensive tackles using their right tackle and their right guard on one. And they use the center and the left guard on the other. That leaves Tooney, the left tackle, one-on-one with an end. And the end over here, they got a combination of Noah Gray and Isaiah Pacheco blocking. So they've got 2 eligible receivers in just to block. So only 3 people going out on a pass pattern here. What is the pass pattern? They've got Kelsey coming up and running an out route. They've got Hollywood Brown releasing in and then coming and running a post. And then they've got Xavier Worthy running a deep over. The Eagles look like they're in a cover 3. So what they end up doing is they have this safety buzzed down. So the underneath defenders are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the deep are 1, 2, 3. However, there's nobody in the flat that can come to the flat, especially once Pacheco comes out here. So to block, right? So Pacheco's over here. Literally, both of these 2 receivers are releasing down the field. So Cooper DeJean here, there's no reason for him to hang out in the flat. That would be a waste of a defender. And I feel like Fangio's defenses do a great job of matching, where instead of wasting a defender out here in the flat, he just ends up running with Worthy across on his over. And the same thing kind of happens as the safety buzzes down here, and then he realizes nobody's coming in the flat because Gray's staying in the block, Pacheco's staying in the block. You'll see that he will start retreating back too and help cover the over. So watch as this goes. Mahomes takes the snap, and as you see, DeJean is essentially like playing man-to-man coverage on Worthy. And the safety is staying over the top of the deeper route here by Brown. So as the safety stays over, and then you can see what I was talking about with this safety over here. He initially buzzes down like he's going to take the flat, and then he sees neither of these guys is going to come out to the flat. So watch what he does. He makes an about turn and starts heading down the field, and then when he sees Worthy's over, he starts sprinting down the field to try to get there. It's a well-coached defense from Vic Fangio. It doesn't really allow a lot of openings. They do a great job of kind of changing what they're doing based on the offensive play call. I mean, it's interesting, seeing a guy covering an over route and then a guy who would normally be buzzed down here in the flat coming back and trying to prevent the route. But even with two guys noticing this over route and trying to stay with it, Mahomes still is able to fire this ball in. That's not a good line drawn. The ball ends up being somewhere more out there. But he just fires that ball and hits Worthy. I mean, this is a great throw, and it just shows how Worthy in the open field is so lethal. Because of the protection here, because they have 7 in to block, Mahomes actually has time. He hits the back of his drop. He's able to climb the pocket and throw this. And you can see when Mahomes has time and Worthy has time to get open, look at what can be done. It's unfortunate that the Chiefs weren't able to create situations with protections like this in the past. They actually did try to use a similar combination here, this time with Kelsey and Pacheco. And Kelsey kind of got a piece of the defender, and Pacheco left enough of a gap that the defender got in between them. But this time, Gray and Pacheco work really well together to keep Nolan Smith off. Mahomes has room to step up because the double teams on the tackles worked really well, to the point that Caliendo was able to come off and leave Creed one-on-one, and he was able to handle Milton Williams right there, and Mahomes just stepped up and fired that in. So this connection's very exciting. And look, I mean, Worthy just running through. People aren't going to be able to run with him. You get him in the slot, you get him running these deep over routes. There's a lot of potential there. And when the Chiefs finally figured out a way to give Mahomes a little bit of time to throw, they got something electric. I mean, look at this protection. They're having to devote 7 guys to block 4. It's really something. Sorry, that's Kelsey's not involved in that. That's here and here. And then Tooney is the one guy who's one-on-one. But if you see Caliendo, after he's double teaming, he leaves the double team here as Creed's kind of got it, and he comes over to try to help Tooney on the inside here. But they had to have 7 in to create the time. But on the other end, the Chiefs only had 3 receivers going up against 7 defenders. But when Mahomes had time to throw, able to hit Worthy for a huge gain. Now we get to about 43 seconds to go in the third quarter. Chiefs still down 34-0. We're on the same drive as the previous play we just looked at. The Chiefs have a 1st and 10 at about the Eagles' 24-yard line. Let's take a look at what they do, and then we'll break it down. We got Mahomes under center here. He's got 3 receivers to his right, tight end to his left, and Pacheco in the backfield. He rolls out to his right and is immediately under pressure, runs all the way over to the sideline, and then fires a strike to Xavier Worthy for the Chiefs' first touchdown of the game. They would fail to get the 2-point conversion, so ultimately that made it 34-6. So let's take a look at this play and what happened. So here we've got the Chiefs again at 11 personnel, 1 running back, Isaiah Pacheco, 1 tight end, Noah Gray, and their 3 wide receivers are Justin Watson, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Xavier Worthy. So they're running a bootleg action for Mahomes and having the entire line block left. Because of that, they're leaving Brandon Graham with Juju Smith-Schuster's responsibility to kind of wall him off enough that Mahomes can get outside of him, and honestly, he barely got that done. Justin Watson runs like that leak route where he comes across and then gets up the field. Noah Gray runs kind of a post, and Xavier Worthy from this side runs like a corner pattern, and Isaiah Pacheco comes out to the flat. So if we watch this, here's Mahomes, and see Juju is the guy that's supposed to be able to wall off Brandon Graham here, but Graham got off the snap quickly, and Juju really struggled to prevent Graham from getting enough depth. Mahomes likely did not intend to have to come out that far. If he had been walled off better, Mahomes could have released more shallow, but he had to kind of bow around to get away from Brandon Graham. The Eagles' coverage, it looks like they're running quarters coverage with deep fourths. They're running cover 4 here. But again, they do a lot of matching. So if you notice, Mitchell will go inside with Noah Gray, and so then Blankenship will come outside. They do a good job of kind of running with guys and replacing each other. And the other part, if you notice, if they've got a cover 4, that means they have 3 underneath defenders. And look at how one of them kind of runs with Justin Watson, but the other 2 don't waste their time sitting in the middle of the field. When Mahomes is rolling out, they go out too. They do a good job of matching and actually covering areas that receivers are going to go to, or receivers might get the ball in rather than other areas. Look, there's nobody here because they're not worried about it. There's no route going there. Mahomes is running away from that area. They do a good job of condensing in the areas where it's likely to get a throw. Now, the one thing about this is Mahomes' threat of the legs is what allows this touchdown to happen. Because if you look on this side of the field, there's one receiver. It's just Xavier Worthy. And there are 4 defenders. But 3 defenders are keeping an eye on Mahomes and staying up, even though there's nobody shallow here. Even 1 or 2 maybe handling the run and another person dropping back to help out could have been beneficial. But we got 3 people worried about Mahomes' legs. That leaves Worthy one-on-one with C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and you like your chances here. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, good player, kind of a declining player, but still a good player, but coverage is not really his strong suit. The other part to note about this is Mahomes, because of Graham coming in and providing pressure, and then the incredible speed of Jalen Carter, too, getting to the side, Mahomes is essentially at full sprint this entire play. He's at full sprint running to the sideline, and ultimately, as Worthy gets some depth, the defender staying underneath gives him a lot of space here to try to throw Worthy open. And so Mahomes just fires one for Worthy to come back to. And I mean, look at this throw. I mean, that's one of the best throws Mahomes has made all season. It's really unfortunate that it came when the game was, essentially over here. They're down 34-0 near the end of the third quarter. But this is actually a very, very high-level play from Mahomes. Eluding the rush, running at full sprint over to his right, and firing a missile down. And again, Worthy just... Anyone who thinks this guy is just a deep threat or just a speedster is not paying attention. Look at Worthy stop, come back to the ball, get down, and make this catch. He's made some tough catches in this playoff run. Had a good one on the, a one-on-one, like Mahomes threw it up there against the Texans. He had that crazy one against the Bills where he managed to snatch it away from the defender. And then look at this, just coming back and getting that ball. That is really great. You can see it here from the end zone view. Mahomes under pressure already. And look at him. He's at full sprint, running for his life. As he gets to the sideline, heaves it. Look at the angle. He heaves it across his body while running full sprint in this direction. Throws it back this way. And then look at the accuracy, the way he's able to get that ball down so that C.J. Gardner-Johnson has no chance of getting it to it. Worthy comes back to it. And he got it far enough inside. Oh, man, that's such a good throw. And a great job by Worthy coming back and getting that ball. That kind of connection is really exciting for the future. The fact that they're on the same page and both capable of making a play like that, I hope we'll see a lot more of that in the next coming years from Mahomes and Worthy. We now pick it up with 6:20 to go in the fourth quarter. Chiefs are now down 40-6, and they have a 2nd down and 2 at about their own 47-yard line. Let's take a look at this play, and then we'll break it down. We've got Mahomes in the gun, 3 to his left, 1 to his right. Steps back, hits Worthy, gets a quick gain of 12 yards. So this is something that should continue to be available throughout for Xavier Worthy in his career when teams play him in off coverage here. So right now the Chiefs are in 11 personnel again with Isaiah Pacheco as the running back and Travis Kelce as the tight end. That's 1 running back, 1 tight end gets you 11 personnel. Wide receivers are DeAndre Hopkins, Justin Watson, and Xavier Worthy. And they're going to have Kelsey run kind of a little post. Watson is going to come and sit initially and then try to get depth. Hopkins is just going to run an in cut, and Worthy's going to just run a curl. He's going to come up and stop. Pacheco is going to kind of come up the seam. It looked like he was going to stop right here. Unclear if he was going to continue with depth. But at this point, the Eagles are playing a little more off coverage. They've got cover 4 here. And I think after getting beaten deep once, they're respecting the deep ball a little bit more. I think recognizing that their defensive line is starting to get tired, and so they aren't a guarantee to just get to the quarterback if given 3.5 plus seconds. So here with that off coverage, they still, the linebacker does a good job of getting width here and trying to make this a narrow window. But Worthy gets to his spot quickly and gets his head around. Mahomes is able to hit that target. Worthy does a good job of coming to the ball. And it's an easy 12 yards. This is the kind of thing that in the quick game should be there in most games for the Chiefs going forward, and it's something that they'll surely utilize a lot with Worthy, with the respect that teams are going to give his speed. We can see it here from the end zone view. It's just a quick throw, easy throw. The window is still there, even though the linebacker is doing a good job of getting out there. Xavier Worthy's going to have these kinds of things if he continues to beat teams deep. They're going to be forced to show him some respect, and the kind of underneath quicker plays are going to be there for him. And now we pick things up on what would be the last offensive play for the Chiefs. We've got 1:56 to go in the fourth quarter, and the Chiefs have 1st and 10 at midfield. Let's take a look at this play, and then we'll break it down. Got Mahomes in the shotgun. He's got 2 to his left, 3 to his left, and 1 to the right. He drops back. Fires deep over the middle to Xavier Worthy, who accelerates past the defense and makes a falling catch in the end zone for a touchdown. So what's going on this one? Well, the Chiefs are in 12 personnel in the shotgun. They've got 1 running back, Samaje Perine, and their 2 tight ends are Noah Gray and Travis Kelce. They've got Xavier Worthy in the slot here and Hollywood Brown isolated on the right side. So what they end up doing are deep curls and then a flat route. So their curls are going to be with Travis Kelce's going to come and run a deep curl. Hollywood Brown's going to come and run a deep curl. Then Perine comes to the flat. Gray goes to the flat. And Xavier Worthy runs a post down the middle. So the Eagles are here in cover 4. And should make clear, the Eagles secondary, these are not their regulars at this point. This looks like the backup secondary. They do have some regulars on the defensive line here, but probably because, you only can rotate through so many defensive linemen. But this does not appear to be their starting secondary, so that should be noted when breaking this play down. But watch as Kelce comes down for the curl. So see, they've got curls here to try to occupy these guys in the cover 4, and then Worthy's going to take on the 2 safeties, and he's just too fast. He runs right through it, and I think the biggest thing of this for me is the kind of timing and connection on the deep ball, because that had been something that Worthy and Mahomes had struggled with through the middle of this year. They hit a good one in week 4 against the Chargers and then really struggled for a while after that, up until very late in the year. And seeing them be able to connect on this one, seeing Worthy be able to accelerate, track this one, catch it in stride, and score, and Mahomes knowing where to put it out there to give Worthy a chance to go get it where the defenders will not be able to catch up with him. That is a great sign. You love seeing Mahomes and Worthy on the same page. Very high degree of difficulty throw in double coverage, but the fact that they were able to connect is an awesome sign for Chiefs fans going forward. And I hope that will increase Mahomes' confidence in going after some of these plays, because when Worthy's deep, if you can throw it and let him run under it, you can make these throws. And I think Mahomes had been a little timid this year to try this. And I'm hoping that hitting a couple deep balls in the Super Bowl will make Mahomes a little more likely to try this later in the year. It's a great throw. A great job by Worthy tracking this and getting into the end zone. Also got to shout out the guy wearing the Joe Delaney uniform in the stands there. I feel like any Chiefs fan seeing a Joe Delaney uniform, that's a lot of respect there, wearing that jersey. But yeah, it was obviously a very disappointing game, but Xavier Worthy showed us why he can be a star wide receiver in this league, and you really hope that the connection between Mahomes and Worthy progresses in ways that this game hopefully initiated, because this could be a really fun year next year, seeing Mahomes throw to Worthy. We're now at 2:47 to go in the third quarter. The Eagles are up 27-0. And they've got the ball 1st and 10 at the Chiefs' 46-yard line. The Chiefs just failed on 4th down. That was the out route to DeAndre Hopkins that got knocked down by Avonte Maddox. And let's take a look at this 1st down play from the Eagles. They come in with 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends. Jalen Hurts is in the pistol. Hurts takes a snap, fakes a handoff to Barkley, and then throws deep down the middle to Devontae Smith, who makes the catch in the end zone for a touchdown. And that puts the Eagles up 34-0. Really, this game was over at this point, but this was kind of the exclamation point. We're talking like the end of the third quarter, and the Chiefs are already down 27-0. I think the chance of them coming back was almost nothing, but this was the kind of go for broke, like end the game play, and it certainly did. I mean, not that they needed this play to end the game, but it kind of left no doubt whatsoever. Anyway, let's take a look at what happened on this play. So again, the Eagles bring in 2 tight ends. So they're in 12 personnel, 1 running back and 2 tight ends. So that means the Chiefs are in a base. Sorry, I circled Justin Reed also. This is 3 linebackers are here. So they end up with 3 linebackers. Leo Chanel is right here, Nick Bolton, and Drew Tranquil, and 4 defensive backs. And the play action really sucks the linebackers in. Look at how much respect they have for Barkley here. And the Eagles run a max protect with just a 3-man route. They've got Devontae Smith on a post. They've got Dallas Goedert running an out route. And they've got a dig route from Ajay Brown. The Chiefs essentially have 4 guys to cover these 3 routes. And so what happens on the left side here is that Justin Reed, who's, the safety staying on top, he's trying to keep eyes on Dallas Goedert, and since Tranquil got sucked in so far, Reed cannot leave Goedert and go stay on top of this post. Because if you let Goedert run out like this, I mean, he's going to be like, imagine if Reed's not there. Like, this is wide open, and this is being vacated. There's nobody between Goedert and the end zone. So essentially, you're giving Hurts a wide open throw, and just letting the guy essentially run all the way to the end zone completely unimpeded. So Reed at this point, with Tranquil this far behind, has to stay on top of Goedert and has to let Jalen Watson try his best with the post route, because he just can't leave Goedert that wide open. Ajay Brown is bracketed nicely on this side because they've got 2-on-1. The Chiefs really needed some other defender to not get sucked in that far from the play action in order to help, but instead they just have a 2-on-2 here, and so Reed has to stay with Goedert. That leaves Jalen Watson 1-on-1 against the post, which is always going to be tough, but especially so when you're playing up like in press position and you can't get hands on him, which Jalen Watson normally very physical. I mean, I know Devontae Smith is shifty, so I don't want to put all the blame on him, but if you are playing press and you don't get your hands on a guy as fast as Devontae Smith, like, you're cooked. This would be like guarding Xavier Worthy press and not getting your hands on him and having no help. Like, you're going to get burned. And that's what happened here. Like, Devontae Smith especially, like, there's nobody in the middle of the field to help. I mean, this is impossible for Jalen. Honestly, Jalen Watson did a pretty good job recovering, given the circumstance. Because if you tell me, like, this is the situation right here, like, I think that's a touchdown 10 out of 10 times, right? Like, he's one of the fastest receivers in the NFL, and he's got an in-breaking route with no help in the middle. This is done. I will give Watson credit for getting there and getting his hand in there. I mean, it was just a good throw by Hurts and a good catch. I mean, Watson, from this point on, Watson played it really well. It's just that the negative from the beginning part was way too much to overcome. Like, if you're not going to be able to get hands on him, you have to be playing off coverage. Like, you cannot press this guy and not actually jam him. And that's what happened. Rough game for Jalen Watson with 2 deep ones being given up. Both times he was in press coverage, which is normally his jam. You know, he's a really physical corner. He's really good at that, but this was not his day. You can see here, look at the linebackers get sucked up by this run fake. It helps that they had a guard pull to try to help deceive the eyes of the linebackers. Everybody came up, and then look, Tranquil is so far behind, which if Tranquil or somebody had been with Goddard, then Justin Reed can stay on top of that post route. But in this case, nobody to help. Credit for the effort for Jalen Watson to try to get in there at the very end, but this play was doomed when you can't press Devontae Smith, and the Eagles go up 34-0. We're now at 10:45 to go in the game. The Eagles are up 34-6, and they have a 2nd and 8 at the Chiefs' 25-yard line. We'll take a look at this one, and then we'll break it down. We got Jalen Hurts in the shotgun, 3 receivers to his left, 1 to the right. He drops back, hits the back of his drop, nothing there, and tries to escape left and gets sacked by Drew Tranquil with Derek Nottie helping out. So what happened on this play? This is actually a pretty cool play from the Chiefs defense. They're in a position here trying to hold to a field goal. I mean, this is still, the team's down 28 at this point. I mean, the game's kind of out of reach, and that's all the more impressive at how hard the defense was still playing. So the Eagles come out, and they are in 11 personnel. They've got 1 running back, Saquon Barkley, 1 tight end, Dallas Goedert. And they are essentially running kind of a 4 verts base concept, right? They've got outside release for Ajay Brown going deep. Dallas Goedert's going up the seam. Devontae Smith is going to go up, initially release vertical and then come out. And then, so Dotson ends up coming in and bringing it in. So it's like they've got essentially 3 vertical stems and then an in cut. And then at the end of this, Smith brings it out. And so what the Chiefs do on this is a pretty creative coverage here. They're looking like they're in a cover 2 show, right, with Justin Reed and Brian Cook. But what they end up doing is they end up rotating at the snap. And it ends up actually being a cover 2 show, but it's Brian Cook and Shamari Connor. These are your cover 2 guys. And then you're manned up here. Justin Reed runs over to try to take the seam. Bolton is hanging out in the middle to try to take any in-cut route. So basically Jalen Watson's responsibility is that he'll stick with this 1 receiver if he goes up. If the 1 receiver goes in, he passes it off to Bolton and he will continue to drop. Shamari Connor's playing safety over the top. He's playing safety over the top. So it's a nice rotation, and it completely fools Jalen Hurts. Like, if you see, he gets to the back of his drop. The place to go, and well, I shouldn't say it completely fools Jalen Hurts. He goes the right way in this situation. He's looking for A.J. Brown on Trent McDuffie. It's just that A.J. Brown's locked up. And so ideally, you know, when you have this safety rolling over, this is a long way for this safety to go. So take your shot. It's your best receiver, but this is great coverage from McDuffie on this play. Hurts doesn't have a throw. Then when he rotates over, he still has nothing. Bolton is inside of Dotson. Watson has dropped back, so once you get that outcut from Smith, he's there. And then the seam is bracketed by the 2 safeties here, Reed and Connor. I think also he might have been a little spooked because the last time he tried to throw one over the top to A.J. Brown with Cook sprinting over, Cook managed to undercut the throw and pick it off. So Hurts rightfully once he doesn't have it because McDuffie is locked up Ajay Brown. His eyes come down, and the Chiefs' rush is essentially they're running their regular 4-man rush, and the fifth guy, because when you have a cover 2-man, if the running back stays in, then this is the guy responsible for the running back. If he doesn't go out on a route, he stays in to protect. Tranquil just comes in to blitz. Barkley did leak out late, and if Hurts had seen him, that would have been something for the Chiefs. I mean, he could have definitely got the first down here. But Tranquil comes in, and because the coverage is good, he has a chance to make a couple moves, and he puts in a late spin on Lane Johnson and comes free and is able to come and track Hurts down for the sack. But this was definitely a coverage sack on this play. The coverage was just really good, mainly McDuffie. So if you look, Hurts is looking over to that side. He knows he's got one-on-one, and McDuffie just has him to the point that Hurts has nowhere to go. Then when he starts looking across the field, he feels the pressure. Andy Uzoma comes around trying to create pressure, and then Tranquil with the late spin move manages to come in, makes a good play, and gets a sack on Hurts. Coverage sack by the defense, who was still playing hard late in the fourth quarter, down 28. So now we're at 2:58 to go in the game. Chiefs are down 40-6, and they've got a 3rd and goal, or it looks like a 3rd and 7, or 6 maybe at the 7-yard line, because the first down marker is actually at the 1-yard line. So it's a 3rd down, but it looks like it's about 3rd and 6. This would also be the last snap of the game that the Eagles would be playing their starting defense, or any starters. I think when the Eagles got the ball, they brought Kenny Pickett out after this. Well, so we got the Chiefs in the shotgun, and let's take a look at this play. Mahomes in the shotgun takes a snap, drops back, and throws a back shoulder pass to DeAndre Hopkins for a touchdown. This, again, we've been talking about it throughout this film review. When the Chiefs loaded up here on the strong side, so they're in 11 personnel, 1 running back, 1 tight end, gets you 11 personnel, and they've got 2 wide receivers over here. So when they've got that 3-by-1 formation, the Eagles are essentially leaving the backside one-on-one, and they are really forcing their attention over here to this route combination. And so the Chiefs did what I wish they had done earlier in this game more and more. It's like, well, if you got a guy one-on-one, try to get someone who you like in that matchup for that situation and just go at that backside. And in this case, DeAndre Hopkins is a good red zone threat. He can body a lot of corners and make catches back shoulder. But in the middle of the field, you got to like Xavier Worthy, or, maybe even Hollywood Brown to try to get open on certain route combinations. But if they're having trouble with the way that the Eagles are succeeding in loading up over the strong side, go to the backside. And that's what the Chiefs did here, and it was successful. You've got Hopkins, and you can see that Mitchell is protecting the inside here. He knows he's one-on-one, so if you get beat on a slant, you're kind of screwed. But so Hopkins takes a nice false inside step, which gets Mitchell to jump a little bit, and then he goes out toward the front pylon. There's just too much room he creates there. There's great separation from his route, and Mahomes with a great back shoulder throw. There's nothing the corner can do in this situation. That's an easy touchdown. And it's plays like that. Not that you can run, plays like that down the field, but conceptually, when you have everyone underneath, everybody here focused on this side of the field, this safety, essentially no man's land, but not helping over the top here, you got one-on-one. And listen, Quinyon Mitchell and Darius Slay both do a great job in one-on-one coverage, but I really would have liked them to try to stress this matchup a little bit more. Challenge, if you have a corner on an island all day and, you're really struggling to get guys open in the mess that they're creating very successfully over the top here. Here they've got 5-on-4, right? They're always having an extra defender. They're muddying it up in their zone. You got to backside over and over again. Try even quick stuff, slants, anything to try to get this guy to get the corners going in multiple directions. If you get Worthy running shorter stuff, then maybe you can get a quick double move and get him beat deep. Anyway, that's me with my frustration about the game, but here it works really well. I mean, this is a beautiful route. That instep was great. Look at how he gets Quignon to jump toward the middle, and that's a perfect throw. Easy touchdown. And, all the other mess that goes on, because look at, they've got the middle linebacker coming over. They're just overloading that strong side so much. I do wish the Chiefs had attacked the backside a little bit more like this, because, I know it would have been tough for a lot of their receivers to win one-on-one matchups, but I really do like Xavier Worthy's possibility, and potentially Hollywood Brown too, to try to, if you're repeatedly pressuring corners one-on-one, like, they'll break a couple times, and you just need a couple big plays. When you have fast guys against that are getting one-on-one coverage, you can break one loose, but the Chiefs didn't choose to go that route, but they did here on this play, and it was very successful. So we now go to the next play right after the Hopkins touchdown. The Chiefs are down 40-14, and they're going to go for 2. So let's take a look at this play, and then we'll break it down. Got Mahomes. He had Hunt out wide, and then he brought him into the backfield. And then motioned Justin Watson out wide. And then they roll the pocket to the right. Mahomes drops back and throws back left to Justin Watson for the 2-point conversion. This is another thing that conceptually, I complained about the fact that the Eagles have been overloading the strong side, and so the Chiefs didn't really ever try to get the pepper the backside where they had a guy one-on-one. Well, the other thing, if you're not as confident in the backside, especially when you're rolling the pocket over to the right, which is, the Chiefs did on the Cooper DeJean interception, the problem with the pocket rolling, like they're going to do on this play, is that you're running routes over into an area that they're already flooding. And so the other thought is that, well, if you're not going to drop back and try to get the backside and try to pepper that repeatedly, and maybe their corners are too good that you can't do that. That's what you've decided. Well, the other thing then is if you're having to do things like move pockets, and I think the Chiefs shied away from doing that quite a bit during this game, partially because I think they were flooding areas where there are a lot of defenders. Well, the other thing that you can do is run some routes back across the grain. Like, you have a quarterback that can make throws going the other way when he can stop and throw back across the field. Patrick Mahomes was doing that at a time when it was very unpopular to do, And they started doing that here. It looks like he's really running a rub for Xavier Worthy. Not 100% sure why against zone coverage, but they're kind of maybe they were anticipating a man concept here. I'm not sure, but he's kind of running a rub for Worthy's man, but then they just have Watson come across the field. And it was especially glaring on that Cooper DeJean interception. Like, when you flood one side, the backside is wide open. And so over here, they had Kelsey from the backside coming across. So you're vacating the one corner that's guarding the backside. So if you just have a route going back across the grain, they are devoting all their attention to loading up to the strong side, and that's magnified when you're rolling to your right. So you just have a route go across the grain. And they did here, and Mahomes is able to hit Watson here for 2-point conversion. But this is another concept that I wish they had gotten to a little bit earlier in the game, moving the pocket to help Mahomes, but then making sure that you allow for somebody going against the grain to make sure that they can't just load up on the strong side. And look at that throw. This is a very good throw from Mahomes. He made some of the best throws he has made all season in garbage time of this game. And it's so disappointing that, they won't be recognized, because this is a really, really good throw. And I wish they had put him in positions where he could have made throws like this earlier in the game. And finally, we are now at 1:48 to go in the game. This is after the long touchdown to Xavier Worthy. The Chiefs are down 40-20 and going for 2. Let's take a look at this play, then we can break it down. The Chiefs again are in the shotgun. They've got the strong formation to the right. They have Hopkins one-on-one on the left side, throw a slant for a touchdown. Again, this is what we were talking about earlier. You know, the Eagles consistently look at all the attention on the strong side. Look at this player already moving over. They've got the backside one-on-one. And the Chiefs started attacking this when it was just too late. This is, you know, and I'm not saying that this would have been, you know, a clear, easy solution. I just feel like there are quick routes you can run against one-on-one coverage without a lot of safety help that could have fit into the idea that the Chiefs were getting nailed by the pass rush. They needed some easy answers. They had to sift through a lot of people because Fangio was doing a good job when they had these strong sets. They had a good job making sure that, look at how many, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over 4 right here. I mean, they just really focused on making sure they overloaded these strong formations by the Chiefs and left very little on the backside. And the Chiefs did not do a lot of throwing to the backside or moving more guys over to the backside to spread this out. And they started doing this toward the end of the game, and they had some result. Now, this snap in particular is against the Eagles' backup, so it's a little less informative, but I do wish the Chiefs had gone to this a little bit earlier in the game. You wonder if they would have been able to move the ball or even just try to get them out of the same thing every single snap. Like, the Eagles essentially just ran these coverages over and over again, and the Chiefs were too slow to adjust. I think they had a good game plan for if the pass protection held up, but you know what? It was pretty clear early on that the pass protection didn't hold up. And they had to change what they were doing, and I don't think they got there fast enough. And part of that was that I think Mahomes made a couple mistakes early with some throws. That pick six especially was a horrific mistake. And maybe if those mistakes aren't made, the Chiefs move the ball enough that they can get some reps in and start changing things. But for whatever reason, they weren't able to get to this stuff until the game was out of reach. Really unfortunate, and it's a sour taste in every Chiefs fan's mouth having witnessed getting blown out in the Super Bowl again. But you know what? You know, still having won 3 Super Bowls in 6 years at this point, and I trust that the Chiefs will retool and be right back at it and in contention for many years to come. So let's hope for some more. This game was unfortunate, but good things should be on the horizon. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks again to all of you who've been following along for however long you've been following. And just a reminder, we will have more film reviews throughout the off season, a bit of a retrospective on some of the best moments and best plays from the Chiefs 2024 season. Thanks again. Until next time.